Hey there, SCP fans. My name is Grigori Karpin, and this is Simply Creative People, the show about SCP creatives, be they authors, artists, or offsite content creators like YouTube and TikTok. We're focused on bridging the gap between various fans and serving as an introduction to different concepts and stories on the Wiki. So, many welcomes to all, and let's get started. Alright, so welcome to episode 15 of Simply Creative People. I'm Grigori Karpin, author on the SCP Wiki, joined by, as always,
I Dream of Harry Blank.
And we have two guests. For the first time, we have two guests this time. The lovely...
I'm not going to have to talk at all.
The lovely Aiko and the lovely ManyMeats.
Yes, we'll be sure you don't have to talk at all. Hi everybody, I'm ManyMeats. You may remember me from such films as SCP-001, Dr. Eat's Proposal, or you may remember me from my other film, I'm an SCP Wiki administrator.
Those are classics, fucking classics.
Yes.
They got cheated out of the
SCP
Oscar.
Wiki admin, now what? And other such films.
Owner of the site next.
Got a standing ovation at con.
Maybe.
And
I have been lurking in the SCP orbit since about 2013, but I didn't have an account that I could post on until 2018.
oh wow, that's only like a year before
shift. It was an overnight shift reader. So I just trolled series 1, 2, and 3 from my night shift in the Network Operations Center.
Wow.
That's cool. Yeah, I did the same thing. I would just read it on my phone on breaks for years, and then
I did it during my normal shift, not breaks.
well, I did it. I found it like a year before law school, and I was working like crazy before I went to law school, and then law school was really crazy. So it would just be like,
Imagine.
when do I have 10 minutes? I need to read something.
Yeah.
Oh, right, SCP. So
Cosmic Horror should calm me right down, yeah.
weirdly, it does. Just like the way that I find From Software games weirdly calming.
I understand what you mean.
And Aiko? Hello?
Oh, yes. I guess my name's Aiko, but you may know me as Luxaiko. I don't write as much because I'm actually an artist.
That's right.
My most popular writing work is Goodnight Miss Moon, which is Alligata stuff, but we don't care about that today.
Well, we always care about it.
I don't. Okay, Grigori Karpin.
That's, yes, my full name. Good.
I'm like the Harry, and ManyMeats is like the Grigori. I'm gonna be quiet, except not when I'm loud.
First of all, how dare you?
Yeah, keep talking.
Is actually a Salashian sympathizer, Greg Karpfin. That's his real name.
I am not.
my
How
God.
dare you? Also,
Oh my!
yay, the fist jokes never get old. This is a legitimate
I don't even
Romanian
have to-
name.
I don't even have to do puns now. I'm completely superfluous today. It's great.
Darn you, Harry Blank.
I am darned. Like a sock.
Big amp.
But Aiko, how did you discover the SCP Wiki?
So back when I was a little baby,
So
I was
yesterday.
11 years old. Yeah. I was
Several
11
days
when
ago.
I found the SCP Wiki. So my friend would play, like... Are we allowed to say other YouTubers' names?
Yeah, of course.
No,
Test
that's
Top
against the
10s. We would play that, and they would be like, let's call the SCP Foundation. I found their phone number. And we would, like, call it and freak out. And I found out the
Lyco
Wiki
calls
was-
SCP Foundation at 3 a.m.
I remember calling them, and then right as it, like, picked up, I hung up, because I was like, oh
Wait.
no, they're gonna find me.
What
and
the fuck were you
cried that
calling?
night.
What number?
I don't... It was... My friend was like, it's the SCP number! And I was like, yeah, the SCP
It's
number.
actually Zin's home phone.
Yeah, so I was actually calling Zin. Thank God I didn't stay on the line. I would have never gotten into the wiki at that rate. But yeah, I really liked what I saw. I actually had like a paper and I wrote out like how to join the wiki because I was that nervous. I have the old password too written down. Yeah, so now you know I'm anxious too. So
Oh, I relate to that so much. I must have read the instructions, like the new person page or whatever, like 4 times before I was like, okay, I'm ready. And I was like in my 30s, so don't worry.
You realize this is making everyone listening relate to us less and less.
Why?
oh yeah.
Well, having been the kind of person who sees what people do when they're required to read something to enter a space, I can guarantee you that nobody is relating to you when you say you read it more than once. They wouldn't be relating if you said you'd read it once.
I literally rewrote paragraphs on the how to join page. I wrote like CSS modules because they were like, make sure you do this. So I wrote like how to write a Euclid SCP.
Oh my god.
I was 11 when I did this. I don't condone it, but let's just say it happened. I didn't actually know because I never checked again because your attention span when you're a kid is just so
when you're a kid.
I just I
mine
joined and then I
at
left.
All. It's exactly where mine still is.
Anyways, ManyMeats, please don't ban me. I promise.
Well, let me just cut the tension right here. Let me just nip this at the bud. To start, all 3 of you are banned now.
Oh, thank God.
Oh,
Thank
God.
God.
That's so good.
This is such a weight.
The rest of the podcast.
Oh my God.
About
like all these people that get banned and become like nightmare people that are on the internet screaming about SCP, I would just be like, oh, okay. Have a good day.
Sweet relief.
That's a lie, by the way.
There's Chorizo stew.
My friend.
There's only one Consuelo.
And his
the weight is gone.
So one of the things we like to do here is like creative corner. And Aiko, you had the really good idea of talking about like designing characters from a visual perspective, but also, that goes into how we write things as well. So, talk about that for a little bit. Go. The weight is on you.
Oh, totally. Wow, this is so nice and unexpected. Thank you, old men.
Oh,
jeez. ManyMeats, I'm gonna rely on you to talk more about the writing aspect of this one. But yes, I said I was an artist. Writing characters, not my thing. But let me tell you, when it comes to design, it is one of the most important things to me. I don't know about you guys, but there are so many authors who are like, draw my OC, and then it's just like white guy number 3. And you're like, oh. So I like to, when I joined the wiki, my whole goal was that I would create a character first, I would draw them up, and then I would put them into a story, which sounds super backwards. No. But boy, does it make you bend backwards in terms of learning how to write. Because now you've got to make it make sense. And that's a whole new story. I don't know when it comes to writing, starting off with a character for some people is a little easier. Maybe for ManyMeats, basic over there. Sorry,
well,
don't talk to that.
You can do either way. The important thing that matters is that you have a post that you pick to start with, and then you work in a direction. It doesn't really matter which one it is. It's whatever it's easier for you. Sometimes people are struck by a con proc, and then they write the rest from there. Sometimes people are struck by a zippy one-liner to exit the article on, and then they work backwards. Yeah, that's all totally valid ways to approach it. It's whatever gets you to put words to paper. And it's the same way with designing the characters that go along with that. You may have a scene in your head that's how things end up and work backwards. Or you may come from the other direction. You may have a character that you see in your head and take them through hell and find out what they look like on the other side. Just pick away and go. Doesn't really matter which one.
Yeah, a lot of us are like,
matters a lot more.
A lot of us are programmed when we're writing to think that there's only one way to start, but you just do it how you want, and it's going to be so much less of a chore. I could tell you now. I spent 8 years trying to start with writing.
I think.
Don't sigh.
No, I'm not sighing, but I do think that it's still work. I mean, I think there's like a myth that goes around a lot, especially in a community where people are like, just write whatever you're passionate about, and just whatever you feel like doing. And it's still work. You still have to force yourself to like make yourself shit make sense or whatever. But yeah, I agree. Like whatever it is that works for you. And the thing is that if the way that you're trying to do it is not working, experiment. And that goes for all aspects of writing, but certainly with characters. If you find yourself bored with your character, odds are if you're bored, the reader's going to be bored too. So, what would you find interesting? And it's not really about what you relate to, because the reality is that we can relate to fucking anyone. If
they're well written.
Yeah, I mean, they're a person, and you can relate to other people that aren't just like you. We don't need fictional characters that are just like you.
Well, look at the idealist over here.
Well, I write very few white dudes.
Yes.
You know what? That's fair.
Get rid of them.
I don't write a lot of. The only white dudes I regularly write are yours. And only one of them really. And it's not because I'm like trying to be like Mr. Representation or whatever. It's not that. I just sort of don't want to write someone just like myself. Instead, I find it much more interesting to write and create a character that are like little tiny aspects of me in a completely different package.
There's no point in writing the same story about
Right.
the same characters if everybody in the story is the same person, comes from the same background, has the same approaches, will
Right.
react to everything in the same way. And in that sense, why not give them different cultural contexts to be coming from? Because
Yes, please do.
human variety is what makes life more interesting, so it's certainly what will make fiction more interesting.
You know what they say? Danger of a single story.
Yeah, it's true though. Like, I rarely think about the design of the character ahead of time, except for very, very basic things. That at most, usually I have kind of a background in mind, fairly light, and some sort of heritage, where do they come from culturally, and a name. And then the personalities develop. And then along those lines, I also somewhere along that way, start thinking about how they're designed. But because I'm a dude, I'm always kind of afraid of talking too detailed about the way that people look because I write a lot of women. I don't want my, lecherous gaze in word form to like come out. Not to say that that's like but that's reality. I hate when I'm turning a page and someone, a man who's writing a book starts describing the way a woman looks, even if they're being respectful. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, like, why are you talking about their like breasts? I don't care. Please don't talk about that.
Yeah, there's actually almost never a good reason to do that.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's okay to talk about someone being beautiful or graceful or whatever, of course, but like...
Yeah, the moment it starts getting a little bit too interested, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Personally, when I describe a man, I like to describe his Adam's apple, I'm very Adam's apple.
Yeah,
There's the one thing to fall back on, which is, does this actually matter?
Of course.
If you can't clear that bar, why are you describing it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mostly describe in a very loose way how somebody is dressed, and then mostly rely on their personality to try and inform people how they look. It's been very funny to get like random pieces of art and be like, oh, weird, I didn't expect that.
I think that's the coolest part, is the variations on a theme where you have something in your head and you are sparse with the details. Like, you don't need to describe the quality of your senior researcher's tweed, but
right.
Somebody could take it to that level, and the tweed could have varying quality. You don't know. It's fun to see how those variations come out, because you shouldn't probably ever have an excuse to get to that level of detail, unless you're writing an article about quality of tweed, which I'd love to see.
That might be pretty fun, yeah.
IP was getting some fan art of SNC Plastics a while back, and the artist who just drew like all of his characters.
Oh yeah,
drew one of his major characters, a thaumaturge named Malcolm Reynolds, and drew him as a black guy. And IP had never thought of that before, and he went back and looked at the character and thought about it and went, I really like this, and so he is now. Just this person interpreting his character, and he looked at it and went, yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I have to admit that, like, oftentimes my version of designing a character is mostly about, personality aspects. And then worrying less about the way that they're dressed.
This is the perspective I'll throw at you, because I don't think I've heard anyone else talk about it in the podcast I've listened to. My personal approach is I design the setting, and I think about that instead of any of the people in it. I don't design characters. When I fill in someone for a role, I wonder about how a certain aspect would look represented in the setting I'm trying to write it in, and then that becomes a character.
That's clever.
It's right. Clever, and it's especially valid in this medium, in SCP. I think it might not work as well in like traditional prose, but because of the clinical tone, you can get away with a lot of very interesting, very different
with the demands of the technical tint to a lot of stuff, and the considerations that certain things have to exist in SCP. It's easier to do than I would suggest somebody try freehand, but it's worked.
Oh no, totally.
I found that it's worked for me.
Yeah, and I mean,
characters are devices, right? They're devices for achieving things, and you shape them to be the shape you need for them to fit into the holes that you have for them.
Yeah, and I mean, settings and places are just as important, or they can be just as important as any character that's inside them. Yeah. If you're just saying, "Oh, it's a dank cave," it's like, well, all right. But if you actually have some sort of
shadows on that cave,
no, none. Zero.
Right, that's the thing, though. If you're going to tell a character-driven story and the characters sparkle and the dialogue sparkles, you can get away with Spartan descriptions. But if you're trying to generate an atmosphere, you kind of need to actually put the effort in to generate the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of switch back and forth. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I just was going to say, yeah, you're the guest. I talk every episode.
Jeez, okay, man.
Talk.
This is horrible. Honestly, from an artist perspective, I hate you all. Except for you, ManyMeats. You're pretty okay. Every time, I'm like, I want to draw this character. They're so lovely. And then I go through every writing piece looking for what they look like. And the only thing I have is they wear a lab coat.
I think I have never written about anybody wearing a lab coat. I've always found that trope to be sort of ridiculous.
All of my characters have detailed descriptions. Thank you very much.
You do,
Harry,
yes.
Who reads your writing, honestly?
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah, nobody does.
Yeah, I feel like you're really out of date nowadays.
Yeah.
Just wait.
It's the truth.
Well, okay, I love the lab coat, but my god, how many times have I tried to creatively redraw a lab coat? Because people come to me asking for designs, and they're like, a lab coat, and they don't give me anything else. I'm like, what about an undershirt?
Interesting.
Yeah, tell me more. Even the setting, as ManyMeats told me, if someone were to describe their setting, I might think of what I could give them. But I remember once someone asked me for art, and they described a character with a lab coat and a little bit of a beard, and I was like, okay. So, ethnicity, does he like Batman? Maybe he's got a Batman shirt on. Does he not want any pins?
Got a crazy tie.
This is 2022.
There's a lot you can just do really subtly with setting that informs some choices like that. I thought about this a little bit earlier because I had to drive a tremendous amount today. Are you familiar with the, I guess we'll call it a short story, They're Made Out of Meat?
Oh,
I realize the irony that's the thing I'm bringing up. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, a writer named Terry Bisson, I believe is how their last name is pronounced. It's only dialogue. There's nothing in the short story that isn't dialogue between two creatures who are presumably aliens, and they're talking about their fascination with human beings being made out of meat.
Yep.
So with not a single descriptive word other than these two aliens talking about humans, you have things that you know are not human, and they find meat to be weird. And then they talk about comparing meat creatures to other creatures that they also know that aren't made of meat but are kind of made of meat. So you talk about all these things that they aren't, but you still know, these two creatures aren't any of these things. What could they be? So even with absolutely no definition at all, the setting still gives you a little bit of definition. More so than just, guys in lab coats.
Yeah. And then have you seen the video adapted from it?
I have.
And that's amazing, too, because the people who adapted the video clearly looked at that and went, I get the point. That the characters aren't described. And so they're going to look fucking absurd.
Oh, yeah, I'm already picturing it. As you described, yes. I think we all slowly are building a picture of what these things might look like. And I'm just imagining, for some reason in my mind, I saw a creature that was built like an oil rig. I can't explain any further to you.
There's so much work being done by choosing to not describe something. The restraint is very intentional. And
Totally.
that's not like a normal place for people to live when they describe things. It's really tough to do, and like there's only a couple examples of this anywhere ever that anyone would know about to be able to talk.
But I would say it happens not infrequently in Eldritch horror. Or any sort of fantasy story in which there's supposed to be some sort of mystery to it. Whereas if they stop to give the exact dimensions of each hoof on this creature, I always find myself rolling my eyes a little bit. Like,
that's
okay.
where Lovecraftian horror fails. If they go too far and describe it, it turns into just nothing.
Right, because he didn't do that. I mean, he sucks for many reasons, but the one thing he really did a good job on was, like, he gave you, like, three aspects of a creature, and that was it, and then just described how people reacted, and then your brain kind of filled in the blanks.
Right, because you can't say this knowledge drives man insane and then provide the minutia of it.
That's right.
If I'm not driven insane, I'm not scared anymore. Slight
addendum: if one of your descriptive terms is a wet squicking sound, go fuck yourself. That doesn't count.
There's
that's
a massive
cop-out.
difference.
That's cheap. You can't do that. Stop it.
Watch me. There's a massive difference when people describe something as it looked like a deer and, oh, it wasn't human.
Right.
Right. And then the opposite, I think, can be true. Especially, I've seen this, like, Dark Stuff's really famous Horse SCP, where you just describe everything in, like, serious, like, scientific detail without ever stopping to give, like, the plain, understandable, like, description of it, and then forcing the reader to put those pieces together and be like, oh, okay, it's a horse, okay.
Yeah, that's that old thing about a bunch of people in a dark room trying to identify an elephant. Like, the one person thinks it's a tree because they've just got the trunk of the... they've just got one of its legs, and they're like, it's a tree, it's a big bark tree. And then another one just has the snout or whatever, and they think it's a fire hose. Everybody will describe things differently based on how much information you give them. So the idea is that the author has to give the reader as much information as they need to get as much of the image out of your head into their head as you require them to have.
Yeah.
And then you can leave the rest up to them. But the stuff that's important, you have to make sure they know that it's a tree trunk if it's a tree trunk.
One thing I like that I've seen about that is a lot of normal detail and then one thing that's very wrong.
Yes.
Like describing a completely normal person, but also their hands are hanging down just above their ankles when they're standing straight up. Like, that's normal and really weird, and you get to the end of a normal description and then you have one detail hanging out. Like, it's not quite fridge horror, because that probably is more generous, but it's a close cousin to it. Yeah. It's a kind of an after the fact, oh.
I've done that a few times with victim stuff, where somebody is basically in a very corporate business suit, and then they just have one aspect of themselves that's just fucking way off.
Yep.
We like it.
It's fun.
This is Jerry. He just got his suit steam pressed. Also, he has 5 heads and no eyes.
Yes.
The steam presser people were so confused.
My favorite was one where the only thing strange about the person was that he had he just had a nose cavity, no nose, and it was paved over in like a rocky substance, and he drank his Coke through the nose cavity.
That's unpleasant.
That's just disturbing. I wonder how the fizz would feel.
Yeah, I've accidentally, you do the laughing thing and you get a soda in the wrong pipe, and that's uncomfortable enough. I can't imagine choosing.
That article was so much fun because everything they're saying is so straightforward. There's really no confusing dialogue in that article, but every description of every person talking is just like, what the fuck? That's where the moose with 3 television screens for a head is.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's where strangeness is best, where the one thing that is strange has the room to shine while everything else is normal. When everything's strange, nothing is strange.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it just feels like a grab
which
bag.
Is a perfect tie-in.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For tonight's topic.
Yeah, so, okay. I would say Oneiroi, but I don't know if that's right.
You just keep pronouncing it differently.
Oneiroi.
Everything.
I would say Oneiroi.
It's however you dream it.
Oneiroi is how I say it, or I
think
like
I'm
to
with
know people
Grigori
say
on this
Oneiroi.
Yeah.
I would have said Oneiroi, but
Oneiroi.
I feel almost obligated to come up with something else because I never had the same answer as Grigori.
We all need to have different ones for the remainder of this podcast.
The ancient Greeks aren't here
Oneiroi.
to defend themselves, so we can do
I
whatever
take mine.
we want.
That's true. We could have looked up the pronunciation, but fuck it. Well, that's what we're talking about today, which is a nice, fun, and fairly bizarre GOI, because honestly, we don't really know that much about the GOI, and it's really almost less of a GOI than it is kind of an interesting setting and tone, I would say.
Yes.
So this is
GOI
about...
is a very generous term to apply.
Right, yeah, and just like nobody,
This is
I
the
feel
one-
like it just doesn't fit.
This is the one for anybody who thought the fifthist stuff made too much sense.
You think this is weirder than Fifthism? I don't.
I do.
It
yeah.
can be.
It can be,
Absolutely can be.
but it has a less insidious tone, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're talking about the Oneiroi, which is, from the GOI Hub, it says it's believed to be a collective consciousness of dreaming persons and dream-based entities. And kind of the thing that I've always thought about it as, and, not to bring Lovecraft up twice in a fucking episode, god damn it. But he always talked about dream dimensions and it being like an actual other place that your mind visited in like some sort of almost physical form. And that's, like the Dreamlands. And that's kind of always pictured this, but then they talk about these things like actually being physically contained in one person's mind, in Famine's article, for example. So I don't know, like, is it just like a mind space, like fucking Professor Xavier in the X-Men cartoon?
Sort of. It's more about different levels of reality and how those things can intrude on one another. One of the pieces that we'll get to later, I picked that precisely because of the point you just actually brought up. It's a lot of where the Oneiroi come from is they intersect with reality at different levels.
Right.
Because you have things that are human and normal and elevate themselves into the space where the Oneiroi operate, but you also have things that are natively Oneiroi, or like Oneiroi and close enough to consider in with this topic. And those things can interact with you there in the Oneiroi space, or they can interact with you in, let's call it meat space.
Just going to use that word as often as you can.
Yes. Contractually obligated. I'm sorry. I'm actually not sorry.
No, yeah, that's how I would say it works too. And the best part is that it's so nebulous, but it like can be because, there's really no hard and fast rules. And why would there be?
We're talking about something definitively abstract.
Right, yeah. And I mean, I like that it's the most fitting, because, in so many of these episodes we have to talk about, well, there's sort of different perspectives. Well, here it doesn't matter. Every single article and story could have a different perspective and it would all fit.
Yes.
So, Aiko, not only are you a friend, but you also designed and wrote the hub for Oneiroi, the new hub. I don't know if there was a hub before.
There was, but no, I can say this because the person who made the before one, don't even call it a hub. It was a blank slate with pasted links.
It was a page labeled as a hub, but it wasn't.
There was just a bunch of links.
Much of a hub.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And God, did I love Oneiroi. God, did I love Oneiroi.
Well, I think it's pretty clear. You mentioned before we even started recording that I just kind of copied and pasted stuff from your hub because I just like it so goddamn much.
Your hub is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Straight to the point. Your hub is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
So, if I had to, I know ManyMeats explain the hub in one way. If I had to condense everything Oneiroi was into a little ball, I would say imagine you are dreaming and then you found a door, and when you opened it, there was a bunch of little trails leading to a central city. Everyone's dreams connects, including a tree, including someone who doesn't exist, including something that did exist but doesn't anymore. Basic stuff.
Totally
we think
basic.
about it all day.
Totally normal. Been there, done that.
Exactly. I was actually inspired by 3 moods to make
honestly,
that makes a lot of sense.
It shows, and in a way that is very respectful inspiration. Like, it doesn't feel like you're just copying it. It feels like in that same mindset, very much so.
Yes, my love is for unreality. And when I saw this sad hub, I knew there were amazing pieces attached to it. And not a lot of people know about Oneiroi because, as you mentioned before, it's not much of a GOI, is it? Because most GOIs pertain to something being behind it in some way. At
an
least
agenda somewhere, and that's not the case.
But in Oneiroi, it's just kind of it's like just a reality more than anything else, or unreality. I'm not going to keep doing that bit where I say isn't over and over again. It'll get very confusing very quickly.
No, but that's something interesting that what you just said. It kind of reminded me of what my thought process was when I did the Deva hub, because in the same way, like, there are all these really articles that I think are absolutely brilliant that, you know, people are kind of like, what's their deal? And it's like, we need something to tie these things together in a way that preserves the weirdness, you know? And I think your hub does a really good job of that, where I feel like you can read the hub and get a good sense of what Oneiroi is, but also it's not like you could, you know, write a graph chart about exactly what the different aspects are, because that's not really the way it works.
Yeah. I didn't want anyone to walk away with a trait. I didn't want a single person to open this hub and leave thinking that Oneiroi is a specific thing. So if you were to read it, you would see that it is super vague, but less confusing than it used to be.
Yeah, so I just thought we could, like, kind of read this opening part.
Of course.
Do you want to read it, or do you want one of us to read it?
God. I could do it. I could do the first part if you want to do another part.
Sure, you want to read just the first little snippet?
Yeah, there's like 4 spots here. That's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll do the list.
Okay.
I really like the list.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's actually a joke in there.
I see 5 paragraphs before the breakdown.
Do not talk to me, Harry Blank.
Wait, what?
Well, if we want to know who's reading what, then it would be helpful if we knew who was reading what.
Just go with it, okay, Harry Blank? I read something, you catch after me.
I just won't read anything.
Harry.
Hot potato.
You could say we're a hive mind, a dreamscape, an egregore, or whatever eases your confusion when faced with something so remarkably not something.
Now, Harry.
Harry.
Everyone owns the Oneiroi Collective, or no one? Honestly, if you care so much, why don't you find out for yourself?
I love that line.
Thank you.
A myriad of merged consciousnesses means the dreamscape can manifest in infinite ways.
Oneiroi is everywhere and everything, but also nowhere and nothing. So here's a list of some popular states of being within the collective. The Parliament's smallest women's bathroom. The box you keep your seasonal decorations in. You know that road you always pass by and think, I wonder where that leads to? Well, if you had an ounce of adventure in you and figured out where that road actually fucking went, then there. Your mother. Every other signpost, and the ones in between. In people with mystical ability to solidify others using only a toothbrush and are quick to anger. You!
I had to keep myself.
Immediately gets me.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, I honestly think you probably should have put it like halfway into the list, but it's so good.
You guys, come on, you're making me blush, come on.
It's really good. You know, I crit this, and I told you, I was like, I don't even know what to suggest. It's so goddamn good.
Thank you. Personally, your mother was my favorite one.
It's very funny, yeah. I like...
Happy to hear that, thank you.
I like how the one right before that is kind of like aggressive, and then it just follows up with your mother.
I'm glad. I really wanted to keep a good pacing. I wanted people to be laughing, but also be like, and then stay confusing. I don't know. The list was my favorite part to write because it's the one thing I kind of rewrote fully. Because before I thought it was like, also, quick little Easter egg. I was supposed to replace the U thing with the CSS module that actually makes it your username, and I forgot. But then I felt weird to change it, so I just left it there.
It's better this way.
It is. It's better this way.
Yeah, it's
I
way
feel like
better.
it's more direct and personal now, for some reason.
Yeah, it sounds like the person who's writing the hub is just like yelling at the reader, which is great.
Yeah, which I am. I was thinking of Grigori when I wrote that.
It's written by Luxaiko, it's always yelling at me.
Thank you so much, Harry.
She yells a lot. Like, there's a lot of...
I talk in caps lock.
I do, actually.
Yeah, and then you apologize for it. It's hilarious.
And then she immediately transitions to insults and threats.
Please, we're talking about Oneiroi, not Aiko land right now. Jesus.
Jesus. So we do have some concepts here, but the best part about the concepts is that like they don't really help. The Oneiroi West, which is the largest of all dream hubs and the most varied of dreamers, including but not limiting to visitors, dreaming humans. First of all, I love that. Like, wait a minute, dreaming humans and visitors are different things. And pure Oneiroi, who have long abandoned their physical selves. We got the Oneiroi Collective, a mystery to many. The collective is believed to consist mainly of flora and fauna native to Earth. Any Oneiroi that attempts to join the collection is either never heard from again or returns as a conglomeration far from what they used to be. Because of this phenomenon, not much is known about this dream hub.
That flora line scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Well, you got like dreaming geraniums and shit.
What do geraniums dream of?
Every single little tiny speck is in the Oneiroi. And you better be scared, because who knows who you're going to befriend. You're going to sit next to a bar in the Oneiroi, you're going to think, wow, me and this guy get along really well. And he's going to be like, stop, I'm a sea cucumber. And you just got to deal with it.
Why would he be a guy? Why would he be a person?
Why not?
Well,
It's just like, why wouldn't he just be like a sea cucumber?
Okay, you boring guy. If you were a sea cucumber and you were dreaming, would you want to be a sea cucumber in your dream? Jeez.
Yeah.
If you move on,
are you the guy who makes yourself in every game you play?
That's right.
It'll be there. It'll be there.
Me
Look.
too.
I don't do that.
I do.
And then dreamers, which is the avatar of oneself, what one might consider their dream self, their subconscious given form.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, and we didn't read all of it because there's a lot and it's really good. There's like details of the actual, like a lot of the GOI formats, they kind of break down the sort of like in a Wikipedia entry sort of sense, like who lives there, what the capital is, and et cetera, et cetera. And I really think those things are fun. And honestly, it's just gorgeous. So, you know, everyone should click on the description and go click through this hub because it's good stuff.
Still want upvotes. Give them to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the point of this episode, or all episodes, honestly, is to talk about stuff that we think is really special, that we want listeners to go. And, you know, if you feel like intimidated by the fact that there's, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 articles, well, here's, 8. Go click on these.
The number is 14, by the way.
14,000.
How do you eat an entire horse one bite at a time?
Get it right, Grigori. This site is like your lifeline.
I know, but I don't really care how many articles there are.
I'm contractually obligated to know.
You only care about your own, don't you?
No, I care about yours and ManyMeats
he doesn't
and
know how many
Harry's.
he has. How many do you have, Grigori?
73.
Oh,
But
he does know.
I only know that because I just looked.
How many do I have? That's the question.
Fucking
Less.
4?
I have like, oh god, I either have 8 or 22. I don't remember.
You don't even know. Don't get mad at me.
That's a range.
It is outside one standard deviation, I think.
Listen, I draw for a lot of articles, okay, and who knows how many people credit me for those arts.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it gets lost.
I have access to the metadata page. It could be all of the articles if you'd like it to be.
That would be fucking hilarious. And probably the last admin thing you did, but it'd be pretty funny.
ManyMeats, you and I could work for each other, let me tell you that. I'm just a businesswoman.
We're cutting all this out. All right,
so ditch this pod.
Bye.
So
yeah, we got some suggestions from both of you, and these are all fucking great. So let's just talk about some of these articles.
That's a good idea.
Before we hit the articles, let's bring up 2 key themes that are helpful to anybody looking at the Oneiroi. Critical words to hang on to are absurdism and surrealism.
Yeah.
Are really the thing that unites all this. In super simple terms, absurdism is a philosophy where you accept that the universe is chaotic, and any attempts to impose order on that are 1, temporary at best, and 2, doomed to fail. So embrace the chaos. That's one approach. The other, surrealism, that's more of an aesthetic, and that is stuff that speaks to your subconscious. It's the type of thing that you see or hear, and yeah, it may look weird, but something in it just hangs on to you, and you find yourself thinking about it again. there's a part of your brain that is stuck on it that you maybe can't talk to, or is trying to talk to you about it. So there are elements of both of those things that are really important to pretty much everything on this list. So if something doesn't make sense when we're talking about it, that's going to happen with the Oneiroi. And if you read the article, you may feel very differently about it. So you always tell people, well, just read the thing if you think it's cool. It's actually really important for the Oneiroi because it's supposed to talk to these weirder parts of self that don't really work very well with one line and yeet out of the thing. Like, you can't really do that. You do, if something doesn't click, it's possible it just doesn't click for you, but it's also possible that it's one of these absurd or surreal things that needs to be seen in a whole to actually do what the author wanted it to do. So,
a lot of these have a punchline.
Yeah, cut yourself a fair shake with these things.
And I think that was the driest, most clinical description of absurdism, and I thought that it's amazing. Like, it's great, and that's right, of course, but, like, the thing that always blows me away about absurdism, and it's probably because, like, I'm kind of broken when it comes to comedy, but the only things that consistently always make me laugh is absurdist comedy.
More or less the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I like Harry's really witty stuff, but, like, I can watch any number of sitcoms that have really witty dialogue and just be like, within 15 minutes, I'm done. I don't even find this funny. And then I'll watch something that's, you know, like fucking Monty Python or something and go like, yeah. And all of these, I mean, pretty much all of them have like really funny aspects to them. And like, even the ones that get kind of dark, are really, really funny. To me, anyway. And it's funny that I really didn't know much about this GOI. I knew what they were, basically, before prepping for this episode, because, you know, it's 100%, like, made for me.
Well, yeah, like darkness, absurdism, and surrealism. That's David Lynch, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only David Lynch has to inject, like, the most sincere emotional moments possible.
Sure. No, we don't do that here. David Lynch can. We don't do that here.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Harry. I interrupted you. You were about to say something.
No, that was the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
I got nothing.
Hey there, fans of Simply Creative People. We're mostly unsponsored so far, so I figured I would take the time to mention that you can support the show on the show page at anchor.fm/simplycreativepeople. Or, if you're so inclined, you can check out Harry or my Ko-Fi pages at ko-fi.com/harryblink or /Grigori Karpin author. Things are crazy tough out there, so if you can't afford any financial support, and trust me, we understand, do us a favor and mention the podcast to someone who might enjoy it, or spread the word online. If we want to bridge the gap between fans and creators, we've got to get the word out to new fans. In many ways, this show is designed to be appealing to new and old fans of SCP alike, as we can all enjoy some discussion about this thing we love, and we can all learn something new. Heaven knows I learn something new every week. Thanks so much, and we love you just for listening. Thanks for the support through all these first few months of the podcast. You're the best. Yeah, so, okay. So the first one, and I think, Aiko, I think you recommended this one. My Head is on Fire and I'm Not Okay, which was by Captain Kirby.
Oh, do you need a minute?
What?
Yeah, he does.
I need a minute?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, you just said that your head is on fire.
Oh, God.
He's very calm about it.
Yeah, I'm really chill. Like, it's no big deal.
That's how I would expect him to report that, honestly.
That's not true.
Some of the people in the story were pretty chill about it, too.
They were weirdly chill. Like, when the person comes back from having their head explode, they're like, oh, no, you know, it's pretty bad, but... I guess that was the friend of the guy, but whatever. Yeah, so this is the first one that's just straight up like a GOI format. And the best part about the GOI formats, you know, just to warn anyone who's going to click through, these look like sort of an alternate universe's take on a Reddit post, or a series of Reddit posts, or a series of posts on the internet in general. Like, there'll be like news blurbs, and there'll be like kind of an upfront Wikipedia sort of section. And there'll be like Reddit style comments where people are responding to each other. Which is funny because, you know, how do you try to like imagine the written word describing a dream reality? Well, what if we just talked about how people communicate? That's good stuff. But yeah, it's about an outbreak of hotheads, quote unquote, where it's people that are like actually experiencing like their heads are on fire in the dream space, and it's spreading like significantly all throughout the thing. And this quote that I wrote down, which is, "Don't open any packets from unregistered IPs. Don't look at any tiki torches for too long without sunglasses." Corporeals, which are people that they have a real body and they're just temporarily in the dream space, right?
Yeah, like in the same way I described visitors.
Okay. Corporeals are suggested to double-check their anti-malware synapses. Recent survey estimates that 80% of antivirus systems are out of date and need to be replaced. Which is the most... Here we have a fucking widespread epidemic of people whose head are catching on fire, and this seems like the most IT bullshit, did you turn it on again and off again advice.
Exactly.
Pretty sure there's a line in there about your anti-firewall
yes.
add-on as well. It's
There's-
like a fire, hello.
There's also several jokes about /wet dreams. Which everyone just assumes means sex dreams, but then it turns out, no, it's literally wet dreams.
And also, actually, /fireman is the one that you should be concerned about.
Which, I mean, come on, mustaches, really inappropriate.
What is wrong with you?
Oh, no.
We don't have the time.
Yeah, no, this is not my therapy session. Thank you. But yeah, any thoughts on this article?
It's
Actually-
absurd. It's so absurd. It's so friggin' absurd.
Yeah.
And
It's actually
such a
prime
great Kirby
example.
article.
It's a prime example of the GOI format,
Mhm.
which is why I included it. I mean, okay, listeners, love you to death. You can't see that, but, you could. A lot of Oneiroi articles are formatted so that way, the idea is that if you can't perceive it because you're human, you perceive it how you're used to, so you perceive it like social media. And that makes it so interesting, but it also makes me wonder, when I read this article, they have that tidbit about IPs and stuff, I'm like, are they actually saying this? Or is this supposed to be a play on, us imagining it to look like that? In which case, I want to see the real article. What are you saying right now to me?
Oh, the layers.
The layers, I love it. It's also something I couldn't stop laughing about for so long.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's just because it not only plays around with, hotheads, etc., but also, the idea of computer viruses or fever dreams. And, like we just said, there's a wet dreams pun, there's the fireman pun. There's all these puns, worked in, but, in a way that is, like you said, surreal in the sense that it's okay, this doesn't make sense, it's just a pun. But no, in this reality, no, that's a literal thing.
It's so dense with that stuff because he's taken the time to pack as much possible into every possible sentence, which is a thing that Captain Kirby does very well. Make sure that the words aren't wasted, space is not wasted, and any direction you care to look in, there's something interesting.
When social media just in general is almost nothing but slang and highly condensed cultural snippet stuff like this.
Mm.
So the fact that it remains true to that in the setting carries this a really long way.
Right.
Yeah, and I think everybody at least I assume almost everyone who reads stuff on the wiki has spent an inordinate amount of time on Reddit. And so it's funny that you look at it and it's well, how is this a story? But you immediately know how to read it.
The first thing about the guy who joins and it gets kicked for all caps, that's I could immediately see that being a Site 17 IRC.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I've had that conversation.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We can only reference things that are still relevant.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
You were literally about to get at least me kicked off staff.
Wait, why?
The continued relevance of the IRC is a point of...
Well, I'm not
Soreness
on
for many
staff,
people.
so...
Yeah, well, all of us are, so...
Well,
It is a point of
you
soreness
should
for
all
the 50
stop
people who are on
being
it.
staff. All right, sorry. I'm sorry.
All right, well...
I apologize. I apologize. I do not... My opinions do not speak for the group.
I choose to simply not feel anything. So
Excellent.
I'm nonplussed by this.
Luckily, anybody who's still on IRC hasn't got the technology to listen to this podcast.
That was way worse than what I said. Oh,
Oh, you're
God.
the best.
Yeah, we know.
So, next one is Restless Streams, or Recursive Recursion, which is a fucking great username.
I couldn't pronounce it, and I actually had to copy-paste it, because I couldn't type it when I sent it to you.
Why couldn't you type it?
It's just... It looks like the same word. It's
just
too much, okay?
They're just two words pushed together.
She started typing it and it kept coming out. Recursive recursion, recursive recursion, recursive recursion. She couldn't stop.
Listen, you asked me to read and now you're going to ask me to write?
Yeah, I don't know what you thought this podcast was about, but... What was interesting, I thought that this was kind of such a fun angle because, yeah, it's an Oneiroi article, but it's all about, like, the view inside the Oneiroi looking out at the events of, like, War on All Fronts. Not even about the events, but, like, looking out on, like, the end of the world scenarios that are going on in War on All Fronts canon, which is, I mentioned briefly in episode 2, and we've mentioned a couple times here and there. It's the one that there's just straight up kaiju and mecha. And I say that, and I don't want anyone to think it's being dismissive because it's absolutely one of my favorite things on the wiki.
Of course it is.
Hey,
you just love strange things. When will you be?
It's not even strange. It's like the most fucking like mainstream thing ever. Godzilla and mecha.
Well, it's pretty grounded, especially compared to I kind of think of the War on All Fronts in the same vein as my personal favorite is competitive eschatology.
Yeah, fair enough.
You say eschatology? That's great.
Eschatology, yeah, or eschatology.
I say eschatology, yeah.
Yeah.
Eschatology.
I always get on people for the pronunciation of things, even if they are the one who made it.
You literally told me yesterday that you hate conversations about pronunciation.
I do.
You're your own worst enemy.
Problems.
She hates all conversations.
No, that's true.
She prefers monologues.
Please let me out of here.
For the audience, Aiko once told me, I am not a writer. I hate writing. I'm really good at dialogue, though. This was a quote. Like a direct quote.
I have many good words. I talk the goodest words.
This is why I'm glad I have many meats on my side today. Thank God.
He feels nothing. He's completely neutral.
I actually don't know a lot about War on All Fronts. I don't read a lot of canons. Boo on me. I've read all of competitive eschatology, though, in case you're interested. But I really like this one because we just saw like a whole format screw, and this one gets more into the personal lives of the characters and actually introduces to you, like, there's a few puns. Oneiroi has so many puns. The main character's name is Paige, and she's made of like ink and stuff and paper, obviously.
Her name is Paige Turner.
Paige Turner.
That's
Jesus Christ.
Which hurts me because that is my name. And my teacher used to call me and another girl.
Did you just like dox yourself? What's happening?
No, this is completely public. They used to call us book.
Well, it is now.
Jeez. It was horrible. And then I read this, and it was just trauma flashing before my eyes.
Oh, I mean, it's funny because that is a believable name, Paige Turner. Like I'm sure there's people out there that have that name. But yeah, in this context, they probably do hate it.
I didn't even recognize the Turner part. You had to say that before.
I didn't either. I was just looking at it on the page now, and I went, "Oh, fuck."
Well, it's such an ordinary name. Like, I mean, it is just such an ordinary name that you wouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, I was thinking Timmy Turner, like immediately.
All right.
You know who Timmy Turner is, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank God.
No, I have no idea what we're talking about.
I'm 36.
Wait, it's fairly on Parents.
Why would I? No, I was in college. No, I didn't.
Everything counted. Watch Very Odd Parents.
No.
Go on about your stupid Oneiroi stuff.
My stupid Oneiroi stuff. So this one introduces the idea of the Nightmare Collective, and like it's just like it sounds. Only what's interesting about this is that they are. This is like a mobile thing, like it's invading the Oneiroi West, and like kind of overwriting or destroying it. But what's interesting is that it's described in like a fairly like almost
dreamlike
entity. No, I meant like it has personality or it has agency, not like it's a natural phenomenon. Like,
it's a dream kaiju.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it's War on All Fronts.
Right, yeah. Because it says believed to be a non-intelligent, but may possess object creation, physical modification, parasomnic capabilities. God, we just love our bullshit terms in this site.
I don't even know what that word means.
Where is it located?
Somnic, so it's like paranatural sleep abilities, so...
Oh, that's so awesome. This would be my favorite kaiju, or whatever the word is.
That's literally the word.
That's the word.
I'm just making sure I'm covering my tracks, okay? I got people in here who are after me.
Kaiju or whatever. God.
What is a kaiju? Dumb.
Where's my gum? I need to chew louder.
How have you assigned a California accent to it?
Because it's funny here?
From California. You're from California.
Yeah, thank you, Harry.
Yeah, because like it's just automatic, and I don't want to just like it. The other automatic ones are like offensive, so I don't use them. But who am I going to offend? The Valley Girls? Like whatever, it's fine.
They don't have the technology to listen to podcasts either.
Well, they're not listening to this one.
Phone.
That's for sure.
Also, the Valley's a terrible place. Anyway,
What?
nothing. Just literally only people from Southern California would understand what that means. So it says it's capable of disrupting nearby human dreamers, causing harm to non-corporeals, and raising lucidity insurance premiums by up to 26.3%.
Oh, no.
An estimated... That's significant. That's a lot more. An estimated 325 Oneiroi have been absorbed by the Nightmare Collective at time of writing. Despite this, the collective mind of Oneiroi West has taken no action, prompting some to speculate that the collective may have suffered major internal damage.
Probably the 325 Oneiroi who just got eaten, but...
Yeah, they just happen to be the leaders, so...
Well, that's the thing. There isn't really leaders, is there?
Yeah.
It's a collective.
It's a collective, so the more you get rid of, the less think there is.
What I think is funny is in this story,
feel.
it's described in this way that's like, they should be doing something about that. And it's like, who's the they? Like, the they is you. Like, it's everybody that's in this collective, right? But I mean, and like you said, it's a very personal story about, this relationship between two characters. But, set in this dream space, obviously. But why don't we talk about one of the many flops articles?
oh God, do I love flops?
Oh yeah,
flops articles are great.
Flops articles are great. Flops great. I know she's listening to this, and you're great, Flops. So deal with it.
And the way we've chosen to thank you for that is to read your articles in the wrong order.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it was funnier.
It's surreal.
This one's Spilled Milk, which is a tale, and it's about the Moosphere, which you'll understand later in Broken Masquerade. A lot of these are in Broken Masquerade, actually. And it's about...
That's place for Oneiroi to be set.
That's worth lingering on. Moosphere.
Moosphere.
Not the newest sphere, the realm of ideas.
That's right.
The Moosphere.
It's the realm of moose.
Ideas.
Milk ideas. Now, I'm trying to make that into a pun. It just won't work. Anyway. Let's just like degrade into us saying the word milk for the next 45 minutes and then be like, all right, guys, thanks.
They're made out of milk, many milks.
If you don't understand us clearly, you haven't entered the Moosphere.
That's right.
There you go.
And this is about Ambrose, and Ambrose is sort of an anomalous restaurant. It's a GOI too, technically, but it's mostly just about this one business that kind of spreads out into the, supernatural and paranatural world, but it's all restaurant-based articles.
Yep.
Some of them are great, some of them are a little boring, but they can be used in very funny ways, like it is here, which is that Ambrose is expanding into the dreamscape of Oneiroi in partnership with Moosphere Inc., called Ambrose Mindscape. And I just want to read this part because I fucking love it. It's the very beginning of it is just this announcement. For more than unknown, in brackets, long ages, Moosphere Incorporated has been a forerunner in surrealistic dairy artisanship, a feast for more than 30 billion souls and counting. By the fruits of their very spirits, our well-trained Oneiric confectioneers would like to serve you our many fresh, ego-shattering delights. Mouth-watering cuisine is hard-coded in their DNA. We're sure of it. Feed your chocolate affirmations.
Vasamulgent one.
Vasamulgent one. For your benefit, Ambrose Restaurant has selected 100 lucky folks from the Freeport's catchment area to come and feast. Join us.
Please note the true name listed on your library card is required to enter. Don't forget to leave a review.
And then it is followed up by a bunch of reviews, which are fucking ridiculous. And
The reviews are amazing.
The reviews
They are the juice of the article.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why I only want to talk about one of them, and then the rest just, I think people should go read. It's a very short article, but it's very funny. And you really genuinely don't even need to know what moose fear is, which is why I didn't feel bad about including it up front.
I feel I need to say, as the person here who grew up in Wisconsin and is steeped in this vernacular, vasemulgence is the act of milking a cow.
Of course, it would be such a complex, crazy, sophisticated-sounding word for one of the oldest, simplest, most agrarian activities we have.
What? That's amazing. So I just want to talk about this first review because it's apparently a review from some eldritch Cthulhu-like monster. And it says, ever since I went to Ambrose Mindscapes, # I've been hallucinating so many worlds. Ugh, I've not had a panpsychismic?
Panpsychismic?
I don't even, what the fuck is that word?
Panpsychism?
I'm having fun, this is good.
Migraine, this bad in epochs. It's unbelievable. Thanks for appropriating eldritch culture, fleshbag.
Why would they do that to him?
I know. Come on. Why don't you... Ambrose
like
has no respect for the eldritch culture. It's ridiculous.
I think Crablord has the best review. Crablord's review is definitely the best.
All right. You want to read it?
Sure. Here's Crablord's review. Chaz Ambrose is a bitch-ass grifter. He human peed in Crablord's parfait. Damn you to the depths.
I hope we all have favorites.
Distinction of human peed.
I know. He didn't pee. He human peed.
Human peed.
It's important, okay?
It's so much worse than crab pee.
I just love the ones that were just melting. That they just
Oh, yeah.
drew out their words. I was like, me too.
But yeah, this is really short, and it's absolutely worth a read, and it's like the perfect example of why Flops is kind of a genius, in my opinion. Just can make the most utterly ridiculous stuff just seem like totally acceptable and hilarious.
Absolutely.
And then...
I can only agree.
Well, yeah, great. Aiko, do you want to agree as well, or just you want to be the odd voice out and totally insult our friend?
No. Flops is not only great. Flops is good.
All right.
Go on.
Wow. And you know what? Even more than that, I would be willing to say that they are great and good and okay.
I would say they're perfectly acceptable.
You shut up about Flops like that, Harry Blank.
Perfectly cromulent.
Exactly.
That is not a topic to joke about.
I just want to talk about that word.
Vasemulgence.
Like, wow. That's amazing. I just want to credit Flops for just looking up that word.
I don't think Flops looked it up. I think that it inspired it inspired the entire article. Like, they had it in their mind for so long.
Came to in the atmosphere.
That's right. Came out of the atmosphere. And then we're finally going to talk about an SCP. Oh my goodness. SCP-5990, which is Out of My Head, Out of My Mind, which is also by Flops. And is also a Broken Masquerade Oneiroi. And this is an occurrence wherein the human mind and its corresponding physical housing, in parentheses, the brain, undergo a rapid anomalous expansion. And they mean that literally, physically expanding. And here's a quote. Most commonly causes migraines in the affected person, but on the extreme end, this leads to brain aneurysm, the rapid swelling of nervous tissue to many times its baseline size, and cascading psychic surges, among other unaccounted for anomalies. SCP-5990 is extremely rare, currently affecting roughly 71,000 persons per year, with 1 in 500 incidents being fatalities. And
this reads like the warning label on a medication bottle.
Yeah. And then I feel like the next thing that you see is that, actually the Foundation has been marking this since the 1980s.
Yeah.
That's terrible. And you would wonder, why is it, the Foundation? Isn't it the Broken Masquerade? Well, it starts long before the Broken Masquerade, which I don't know if this is canon or not, or if that's just the date that Flop said, but it was 2013 is when the veil drops, and so there's a whole timeline of developments concerning the condition and how it's first discovered, and then how it's, eventually found out by the Foundation and then covered up. And then the best part is that instead of them talking about the stresses of dealing with making this public, they just talk about how the stresses of making everything public made this happen to one of the co-directors of the public relations, who has such a horrible case of this expanding brain thing that she suddenly develops ontokinetic powers, which is the reality warping stuff. And then Embla's brain inflates in volume by 5,000% and explodes with a roughly 25 kilograms of TNT equivalent blast, causing significant structural damage.
I find what happened before her got big to be much more worthy of commentary.
Well, yes, but I also thought it was a funny part, so I didn't want to read it.
Oh, so we're going to read the parts that aren't funny.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. That's the only part that's not funny. You're right.
We're going to make these look as bad as possible.
No, yeah, so those powers that she developed, like, she starts affecting the people around her, and she does so in this really funny, very, like, politically conscious commentary about the way that the Foundation treats their employees.
She leaves a Hershey's Kiss on every desk.
I'm just going to read this. I don't give a shit. This article's full of good stuff.
Yeah, go,
do it.
Or I'll spoil this one thing because it's funny.
Yeah, I'm not saying I shouldn't do it. I'm just saying I didn't include it for that reason.
Oh,
you
like the
can
Agent
still
of
read
Chaos,
it.
I will do it. Okay.
Great.
I'm holding Grigori back. Hurry.
I don't care.
No, I'm doing this just to stick it to you, Grigori. You have to care.
Okay, I'm very upset. Please don't. Please don't.
Harry, go.
Shut up. Site director Christian Darshan, Embla's former superior, who she filed several undisclosed workplace reports against in the past, loses all bladder control. The door to his private quarters simultaneously disappears, transforming into a solid wall. Several hundred liters of urine flood the room. Site security recovers him 9 hours later in soiled clothing.
You don't say.
You don't say.
I could have never expected this.
When his computer wasn't.
I feel like his computer was probably ruined.
A human being everywhere.
Human being. That's the through line on Oneiroi.
I would like a nice callback to that where somebody later on crab peed. I think that would be really funny.
Flops has a not insignificant number of pee jokes to her credit over the years.
Yep.
Thank God. Nothing funnier.
No.
That's right. It's the height of comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what's fun is that this keeps happening more and more because of the Oneiroi connection. Because now, because of the mindscaping and so many people being aware of Oneiroi and the practice becoming so much more common, the stresses on the human brain are causing this to happen significantly higher percentage. And what we're definitely not reading is the final ridiculous note, because
of course not.
It is absolutely the trope of a final note, and yet it is such a spit in the face of the trope, or at least a spit in the face of what everyone else tries to use the final note for. Instead of it being and here's the thing that's going to cinch it all together, it's just this complete fucking insane tangent in the best way possible.
If you liked the P, you'll love the final note.
Yes. Aiko, did you recommend the Japanese article?
I did, yes.
Well, okay, well, why don't you...
I do so with enthusiasm.
Yeah, I really liked it. So why don't you explain
I
it?
like this one.
Okay, so this is SCP-2507-JP. It comes from the Japanese branch by, I'm going to butcher this, Taneyama.
No, that's not a butcher. It's not bad. That's not bad.
I would argue that I probably didn't say it right, but...
Right, but, it's not a butchering.
It's called Jump Scaring Ghosts, and I'm just going to completely cut the logical part and get back to that by telling you that there are 200 million instances.
which is
absurd.
It's not only absurd, it's wait, these are ghosts, and there's that many, it feels like you're being set up for some really horrific article, and it's really not that.
Yeah, it's not. So it's about these, essentially when you dream, there's these little funny little ghost guys literally sheets.
Mhm.
Like they're just like if you took a PNG of like just some corporate's drawing of a ghost and you just put it in a room, that's what it is. And
the image in this article is fucking great.
It's so cute. At first I looked at it and I was like, this is going to be horrific. And then I got to the end and I was like, aw. So essentially it will attach to like nightmare entities in someone else's dream. And it will kind of, I don't know how they describe it. I suppose it's like it interjects and makes their scares a little less and it wins from that.
Yeah,
it feeds off of that.
It finds things that are legitimately huge, horrifying, and scary, and then while you're dealing with that, it shows up and goes boo in front of you. It wrecks the effect with it.
It's so good because they're like, oh, because of the way it looks, it's not actually that scary. So they try to like follow the activities of like the genuinely scary things, and then the timing is always so bad that it makes people go, oh my god, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? Is this a dream? And then they wake up.
It's so cute, and I hope they're happy. I hope that's a good thing for them.
They get to do.
Not like,
they do the jump scares, so they're happy. I'm sure
they do. I know, but maybe the bigger monsters bully them.
See, this is what we were talking about, where you don't always need to show everybody all the details. There are no logs here. There is no description of any of these things actually happening. It just goes, here's what it's like, and you go, oh god, that would be great.
I turn it depressing for myself. I think these they're so cute, Harry. They are so cute.
The image does like fucking wonders here, because if there was the description and everything else is still really good, the writing is really good, but that image takes you right over the line, I think, into like brilliant, because it's just so fucking cute. Like it's you're like, wait, and then the lighting is so spooky. It's so good.
And I mentioned it's a JP article. I'm gonna slowly slide in here and say JP has their own Oneiroi hub and their own thing, and it's so good. And a lot of their Oneiroi stuff is fantastic.
A lot of their stuff, period, is fantastic.
A lot of it, period. I'm here to talk Oneiroi, and I've read everything, and I have talked to the person who made the hub, and I'm obsessed with them. They write great stuff. Oh my god, I love it. And I had to give one. It's so cute.
Oh, I'm glad you did. It's so good.
Absolutely.
It's
Visit
so
the International Translation Archive and read some stuff. It's good.
Yeah, and I mean, I've mentioned before that the only ones I'm like fairly familiar with are the Japanese and the Korean branches, but there's so much good stuff in there. We gotta make an effort to include more of them, honestly.
We made the INT there for a reason. Go use it. Go read it.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
So, Meats, we have an article here by you.
Oh, it's weird.
I know. Who suggested this shit?
Jeez.
I think the first time we talked... did I crit this? I remember reading this here. Maybe you just linked it to me. I'm not sure.
This is one of my favorite articles on the SCP Wiki, and I only read it today.
Oh,
Thank you.
This is so good. This is so fucking good.
It's a fever dream of Iron Chef.
Yes.
4497 is, if you've seen the show Iron Chef America or Iron Chef, its original Japanese father material, it is that melded with a horrific dreamscape where anything's possible. And we follow a poor researcher who is just casually astrally projecting, and he makes an Oneiroi buddy, and they check out Kitchen Stadium, and he just throws his hand in and accidentally wins. And we find out that what he won is transferable to real space. And it gives the person the power to cook anything, even theoretically edible. They can make it into a gourmet meal. And you can also apparently lose it by random subjective statements like, oh yeah, this other person's is better. So it's a problem to keep a hold of this thing. So you have to keep going back into Kitchen Stadium.
In your dreams.
In your dreams, you have to go into Kitchen Stadium and defend and or win your title. And if you lose your title, oh, by the way, you're banished from REM sleep forever. So that's nice.
And you did that to your
delete
author
you from dreams. Yeah, I did that to my author avatar, who I have to say, this article is actually what prompted me to name them.
Dr. Manny eats?
Yeah. That's where I decided. I just leaned into everything I could find to lean into, and this is the article that did it. That
God, it
got me
leans
to
so
name
hard.
them.
I love it. It's so good. I like the title a lot. Whose cuisine reigns supreme?
Which is famously a line that the chairman says at the start of every Iron Chef episode before he shows them the secret ingredient, which in this article is Spanish Inquisition.
It's such a good article. It's so funny. It's wall-to-wall hilarious.
love it.
I'm looking at a section, and if there aren't anything anybody else wants to read, I want to read part
Go
of
for
this. Just a part of this. And this is completely... I'm not going to contextualize it. I'm just going to read this. This is right in the middle of the log. I'm not going to explain where it comes in. Agent Sokolov says, "Okay, first we have our appetizer. This is a callback to the greatest heretics of southern France, with our take on a sort of charcuterie board. We have a thinly sliced, nice and fatty inquisitor belly that's been brined in a Dead Sea marinade, and then just really quickly been raked over the conceptual essence of a torturer's rack. That's served with thin, crispy, compressed slices of Cardinal Richelieu's beard. Cheese is a sharp cheddar from the Mayor Frigoris region of Luna. And the wine isn't wine at all. It's distilled heresy, which, turns out, has the same properties and flavor profile of Pinot Noir. Various cuts to the judges are interspersed as they begin to eat the appetizer. First judge appears to be a direct representation of Alexander Hamilton, except he's a 2-meter-tall Komodo dragon. The second judge is a 1-meter-wide disembodied head of Salvador Dali, his mustache twisted into a Mobius strip. And the third judge is a completely hairless Guy Fieri adorned with sunglasses. It's amazing. It's such a good article.
How many gold ManyMeats?
It's fucking great.
It's really good.
So
Absolutely.
good.
It is probably understandably my highest rated piece. I think deservedly so.
It should be twice as highly rated as it is. It's so good.
It hid for a long time until a very nice fellow who went by the name Kindly Turtle Clem put it on a feature spotlight, and then it gained like 100 in 2 days.
Wow.
Features
Amazing.
are great. Front page features are great. Apparently, so was Kindly Turtle Clem, because every time they're ever mentioned, everybody goes, "Oh, I'm sad they're not here," and they talk about how much they like them.
Yeah, I enjoyed their work, and I like to toss stuff back with them. And I don't know if they ever moseyed back to the site under a different name and then just didn't tell anyone, but maybe they did.
It's a very low
It sounds like such a crazy statement that you are suggesting it happen.
Yeah, nobody's ever wandered back to the site before under a different name anonymously.
No.
It's not a thing anyone's ever done.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And when
Clem was great.
If they do it, they never get discovered.
Truly. One of the great mysteries of our time.
God, it sounds like we know something, and I don't know anything.
Hey guys, I have to tell you something. My alt account is DJ Cactus. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You should be sorry.
I'm not even sure how the timeline works on that one, to be
Hey, don't worry about it.
Anyway, it's a great article. 44.97. Everybody should read it.
Yes.
Basically.
Operation Snackdown is the name of the MTF mission.
It's so good.
I think Flap's, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, Flap's other Moosphere article has a better mission name in it, but only slightly.
MTF names are so much fun. And mission names and operation names and titles and shit, like, that's always so much fun, because you could just say the stupidest shit.
Embrace the absurd, people.
Exactly.
You'll live longer.
You can critique it. Well, they could, but
Yeah.
it's invalid.
They can, but it'll just make them look bad. So.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
could, but why?
They'd be like, I don't, like, why did they say this? Because it's funny. What's the problem? So yeah, speaking of flops, we got 2 more. We're doing 4 of Flops articles, but that's not a bad thing.
We worked together to make this the flops episode.
That's right.
So-
She deserves it.
She does.
She does.
Critter profile Bartholomew. Bartholomew? Jesus.
It's an
Bartholomew.
exclamation point. It's
So
an exclamation
sweet.
point.
So adorable.
So adorable. Is also a beluga whale that can jump very high and fell from the sky And I didn't mean to rhyme, but of course.
That's the time.
And this is like one in like sort of an unofficial series where like Wilson's has an interesting connection with some other GOI. It's not actually a series, but where the Oneiroi has like interesting, because who else would create Oneiroi, create a flying beluga whale that eats words and ideas. And also Flops pointed out that this is technically Oneiroi Inc. from Third Law, which I mostly avoided using those articles because at some point we're going to talk about Third Law, which there's no way that we'll do everything, but it's a completely different yeah, it's a really deep and dense.
It's the biggest canon on the site.
Yeah. But, you know, just in case we did, so. So Bart's one of a kind because he feeds only on the spoken word. If you greet him with a joyous, "Hello, friendo," he'll open that big old mouth of his and suck your words right in. When this happens, don't be shy. That's how he signals to you that he accepts you near his home.
Isn't that nice?
I like how
horrifying.
Yeah, they're so okay with this happening. They're just like, "Oh, isn't this cute?" And it's like, no. That sounds worse than him eating you.
Keep my words out of your mouth.
That's right.
It cuts between cute and scary, even like from the beginning. Like, name Bartholomew, aka Bart the Beyonder, fabled song of the library, the cosmic mouth, and the merchant of morphemes and phonemes.
The cosmic mouth.
There's a picture of a fucking stupid beluga whale's face right next to it. It's so perfect.
Which is a fairly stupid looking whale. Let's not get ourselves.
Oh god, they're stupid looking.
And the best part is when they talk about like it coming from the sky, it literally slammed through the. I don't know this.
Multnomah.
I'm not familiar with the Oregons, but Multnomah, yeah, Multnomah County Central Library's historic brick facade, and wound up stuck in a bookshelf. But the weird thing about it, not the weird thing, but the really spooky thing is that people that are writing this article keep having to like beg off sick, or suddenly they don't remember what happened, or they're writing a later entry and they don't like recall anything that they just wrote. And it's like, not only are is this whale eating your words, it's eating your fucking memories.
And they don't seem to be alarmed
Not
about
at all.
what they do in the in-between.
Not at all.
Not only the act of losing these things, but they have the retrospective awareness of the things that they're doing, and they still don't care.
See, that's the part of the beauty of this for me is the way that works in a completely different sense. If you take a different tack to it, because it's written by all these different people who don't always remember what's going on or how they got to places, and sometimes the narrator changes and the location changes, it feels the way having a dream feels.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then the narrative gets less and less coherent and starts jumping around towards the end because dreams.
I actually think there's even that's an excellent point. I think there's actually even a different layer to it, which is this is a very different perspective on like a murder monster story, or not an actual murder monster, but something like genuinely like fucking scary. This creature eats words and eats memories, and from it you can totally imagine this done as like a very serious article from a different perspective that would be really creepy, or at least attempting to be, and instead this is just cute.
Yeah, it's heartwarming and horrifying, and that's hard to do, and they did a great job.
Flops is good at that.
Flops is good at that. Wilson's wildlife formats are generally good at that.
Yeah, because the like normal tone of them being very happy and excited about whatever the critter is, and then it's just like, well, they just happen to have these weird anomalous effects.
And the pitch of the format makes them stay short before you ruin the horror.
Yep.
What do you mean?
Generally, if you're trying to be spooky, the more you talk, the worse it gets.
Right.
Most people are their own enemy in that regard, and the format stops people from doing that.
That's fair.
That's true.
I mean, certainly people can transcend that limitation and do the good words, but
I don't know
for
how
a lot
many
of folks, the format helps.
How many long Wilson's formats I've seen, but I
Yeah.
think the number might be 0.
I feel like I remember seeing one, but yeah, it's incredibly rare.
I put license boxes on almost all of them.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think I remember seeing almost all. I put license box on this one, and they're almost universally 1 or 2 page scrolls long.
We love to see it.
And then we all died.
Sorry,
I love that whale so much.
I yawned, so that's why I was quiet. I was just covering the mic.
I like the collaborative part of this, where the people inside get a net full of books together for this whale to pack its lunch bag for its long journey across the stars, and everybody's pitched in, whether they know it or not.
And the best part is by the end, like they're like, we don't even really what? There was a whale?
I'm very sad we don't have a whale that I don't remember anymore.
It's like, yeah, I don't remember having a whale, but I feel the hole that it left when it left.
The last sentence was super sad to me.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
I feel like that it got quiet, like I'm supposed to read it or something.
No, I mean you can if you want.
If I didn't, that would be so good for all the people listening right now. Actually, make that your incentive. Go read the article.
Yeah, in general,
you want to know what the line is, don't you? Back at home.
Yeah, this one's packed full of like really clever tidbits, and because it's all written from these very like grounded like perspective of volunteers at Wilson's, it's got a very different perspective than a lot of articles on the site, which is good about Wilson's in general. But like I said, could just be a really horrific like fridge horror laden fucking eldritch fucking storyline, and instead it's just it's a cute whale.
Or is it?
Or is it? Exactly. Like I definitely get the feeling that like the whale is like 100% aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
So another one by Flops, which is SCP-3739, which is Mind Milk by Moosphere, which is where the Moosphere, I think, first showed up.
Yes, this is the flagship Moosphere article.
And there was even a more recent one, which we're not going to talk about here, but mostly because talking about it isn't really that helpful. I think it's 6750.
6705.
6705, sorry, I got the numbers mixed up. Because there's these incredible video components, and people just need to go fucking watch this shit. It's fucking incredible.
It's a labor of love, to be sure.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
Yes.
The last one is... I died. And I'm just going to read a bunch of this. SCP-3739 is a cognohazardous vector spreading into human perception via hidden advertisements which target the worldwide paranormal market. Moosphere Incorporated, a Gestalt, thought-based dairy corporation threatening an impending CK class restructuring event. Moosphere uses microscopy technologies ordinarily used to transmit images visible only at 300 microns to produce invasive cognohazardous catchphrases, designated as -1. These instances are brand archetypes that anchor themselves onto symbols and signals already embedded in the consciousness of humanity. Transmission occurs when humans are unconscious. SCP-3739's archetypes and its related bovine motifs are only visible in REM sleep. Moosphere's mass neurological advertisement campaign connects to a chain of legitimate products, both real and dream-based, produced by the human subconscious and esoteric sources. A significant sum of Moosphere's products come from the neural and mimetic pathways of its market base. Moosphere...
They're milking you.
That's right, they're milking you. Moosphere ectoentropically generates 31% of its flagship product, Mind Milk, TM, from the hypothalamus and pineal gland, hormone release centers, respectively, while a metaphysical source secretes the remaining 69%. Regular consumers Nice. Regular consumers of Moosphere products develop milk curdle build up on portions of cerebral tissue, which further influences consumers to use Moosphere products, but does not otherwise negatively affect their health. They got milk on the brain. They have milk on the brain. And then they're in a collapsible. There's this fucking quarantine ad, which is pasted up against a really excellent picture of the moon. And says, our dairy may not literally be from the moon, but there is a remote possibility that the same photons in your eyes could end up on the surface of the mare Ibrium. Now that's what I call mind power, TM. Now available with every shipment of Mind Milk, TM.
That's particularly funny because Mare Imbrium, which one is that? Is that the Sea of Tears?
I think so.
Let's ask Google because you're going to hear that I'm typing anyway.
Yeah, go on.
It is. It's the Sea of Showers or the Sea of Rain. So yeah, your eyes end up on the Sea of Showers.
So there's milk on your brain and your eyes are on the moon.
It reminds me, it's like the reverse Scott Pilgrim thing when he's trying to explain his vegan powers. It's because he doesn't eat dairy and the rest of his brain is freed up. But in this instance,
That's right.
you get powers from having your brain full of dairy.
And most of those powers are used to produce product for Movisphere Inc.
Yeah. They're milking you. And this has Operation Lactose Intolerance down here. With a really, really long MTF mission to destroy the meta-cow responsible. It's very strange. This one takes... it's a full-on action movie at the end, the latter part of the MTF log. It's a full-on action movie. Lots of production value in what's going on screen, so to speak. And then it gets even weirder at the end, and it's I don't know, it's an incredibly broken masquerade in the best way. You couldn't have chosen a better place to put this than Broken Masquerade.
Right.
Yeah, and the part that I read is literally just the very beginning of it. And because of that excellent log and the other places that some of the addendums go to, it just feels like such a... I don't want to spoil anything other than just the premise, which the premise alone is so fucking ridiculous. The part that I just read is so ridiculous that it's like, and guess what? It goes way stranger.
Yeah,
the mega cow is just it's in both ways fucking hilarious and also a nightmare.
It's just like, yeah, endless nightmare imagery, cow theme.
I just like that I fucking realized while reading it that it means you literally have milk on the brain.
Oh wait, here's one line. I got one line. I'll read one line. A cow comes into view, mooing. Etheric emission flows from its posterior, consistent with bovine flatulence. That's perfectly clinical.
It's so disturbing.
Emissions.
Can you imagine a more banal line than a cow comes into view, mooing, and then followed by that? Sorry, Aiko, what were you trying to say?
As I said, do you think there's ever a time in the Foundation where they're like, maybe we shouldn't be clinical about this one? What's the line? Like, when are they like, maybe it would be better if someone read this sentence and actually understood it?
Well, you know what? I bet you there's probably a word for mooing, and odds are Meats knows what it is.
Vocalizing?
Wow.
A bovine vocalizing would make sense.
Yeah, what do they call mooing in Wisconsin?
Well, we're just gonna go with mooing. That's the I don't know, special word.
We don't care what they do. We care what we do. That's why we have a fancy word for milking, but they just move.
Bear in mind, something I always think about with why they would choose to write stuff clinically like this is ostensibly a lot of this stuff is a video log that some poor schmuck at the Foundation has to watch and then transcribe into words.
And then they don't transcribe it in the way that transcriptions are normally done, though. I mean, the clinical transcription is actually like... I mean, Aiko's right. Like, it's actually, like, anti-communicative. It's just part of the trope of, like, SCP, which, you know, we all love. We're here for a reason. But in reality, it would be a problem.
A human being not only had to transcribe this, but they actually took the time to find the clinical way to describe it, which means this person had a hell of a day at work.
I know we're already stealing, but how did you just pronounce my name? Go on. Aiko.
You?
Aiko.
Aiko?
Aiko. Everyone else says it right, but Grigori, you had it right for so long, and then you said Aiko, and my brain immediately went to kill mode.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no.
Are you the one who's saying you don't know how to pronounce things right at the beginning?
Didn't you also say you don't like talking about pronouncing things?
Yeah.
This is
Wasn't that you?
on the podcast, Abby? This is so sad. This is my name. This is the only thing I have.
Lux. Just gonna call you Lux from now.
No, it makes you sound too bright.
Right. Yeah. Oh my god. I can't do this now, Harry.
See, she thought she was going to come on here and abuse us, but we turned the tables.
You know what? You and your stupid victim. BKTM. It's proper. It's nice.
Either one is acceptable. But I made it up so I can call it whatever I want.
I was weirded out the first time I
him.
heard him say victim.
Yeah, every time I listened to the podcast for the first time I said victim, I was like, no, this is not. I actually messaged him very angrily.
I'm sort of blown away that more people didn't realize it, honestly. Like,
I noticed it, I just didn't call it that.
Oh, well.
Yeah, it's just like, it's VKTM.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I can call it whatever I want. I made it up.
No.
Odds are.
Alright, well, Meats, you recommended this pretty fucking crazy article by Nat Voltaic, which is SCP-4137, Hyperaxial Nintendo Core Overdose.
So I did.
Why don't you set this up?
This is a less obvious inclusion in this list. Essentially what it is, it's the concept of a Tesseract and gaming crossing over. We
Retro
have
gaming.
A camper van. Yeah, we have a camper van that's got a gaming console inside of it, stuck to the wall, where if you do the right rituals and the proper gestures, you turn this thing on and you wind up gaming inside of a Tesseract. Which is understandably really freaking weird, because we're 3+1 beings, and a Tesseract is a fourth dimensional space. So that's not really a thing that can be described well, because we're three-dimensional beings. But this article actually does a pretty nice job of talking about you have an X, Y, Z, and W axis. And there's a fight in there where we're trailing after the people who possess this device, which is activated by doing the Konami code, by the way.
Yep.
Do the Konami code on the interior dash of this camper van and vocalize "fuck the jailers." And then you can go into the back and try to fight inside of a 4D space.
This log is so good.
Great.
Yeah, it's a difficult concept to turn into anything with a log, so just approaching this at all is really brave. But this happens to knock it out of the park with the log.
It's just disorientation. Utter complete spatial disorientation described.
But then also using that horrible space that is hard to describe to try and place as a setting for a shootout.
Yes.
There's a line in there about we lose an MTF member in a firefight inside there, and we literally lose them because there's a line in there about how the coordinates of their body are unknown. You can't just look at the body and see where it is, because you can't draw a straight three-dimensional line, because you got an extra axis to worry about that we don't understand how to navigate.
Yeah.
So it's just some extra strange little places for horror to live in there. And the question then is, how does this relate to the Oneiroi?
Mm-hmm.
Using this device produces paradrugs, paranatural drugs, which the people who use this thing then sell off, and these drugs have various effects. And the implications of some of those drugs and the effects they have are what I take to mean that they basically induced multiplayer with Oneiroi. So you take this paranatural basically morphine analog, and you're able to play Tesseract Nintendo with Oneiroi.
Yes.
And it comes to the thing that we talked about in the way back in this podcast about how different spaces can interact with each other, higher levels of reality running into lower levels. Tesseract being a four-dimensional thing is obviously a level above us 3Bs. So right there you have that obvious physical intrusion, but that's like a vector for Oneiroi to interact with our meat space too. And there are other features of the van. I think there's one part in there that talks about how they tried to like destroy the tires to stop them from taking off. But the way that the van is designed is the tires are actually existing in a higher dimension, and they're a cylinder in a higher dimension. So if you destroy the tires in our space, the cylinder just slides further down, and there are tires again. It's a whole bunch of weird stuff like that is a very difficult to understand, but also somehow poignant representation of the type of material that you can play with in an article that deals with the Oneiroi. That's free. It's free real estate. If you are brave enough to tackle it. And the beautiful thing about that territory is you can be wrong with respect to physics and math, and you can just say dream logic, and nobody can stop you.
I love fucking with that shit, even though I don't typically write it specifically about dream logic. Just like, no, this just happens.
Option is there.
This just happens. Deal with it. Well, how did that happen? It's anomalous. Shut up.
Deal with it.
Or my favorite word, my favorite sentence to reply to questions like that. I left that as an exercise for the reader.
Oh my god, I almost just spit out my coffee. That's good. One aspect of this article that I wanted to point out, which is pretty obvious if you're to pull it up, is this list of like recovered items from inside the camper van. And I swear to God, every one of these items could be its own like Series 1 or Series 2 SCP article, and some of them have like genuine potential to be something else, and instead it's just like a 5 or 6 word line. It's just so fucking great. Like there's like one of those Nintendo Super Scopes, which was the like light gun for the Super Nintendo, and there's like a very serious note at the end of that sentence: "Do not use with the Super Nintendo." It's like, wait, well, what happened? I don't know.
Well, it's because
it's why that warning note had to get made.
It's because the Super Scope shoots real projectiles. Not normally. This one. The real one, believe it or not, did not shoot real projectiles.
Believe it or not, this toy did not actually shoot projectiles.
I didn't have a
Super
Scope.
I didn't own one, but my neighbors had one. I only remember 2 games. There was a Yoshi game and there was a Terminator game.
Oh no, there was another game. But yeah, there isn't a lot of them. To be honest, there wasn't a lot of them for the SNES either. There were more, but there wasn't a lot. You just played Duck Hunt again.
You said SNES. You meant the NES?
Oh yeah, the NES.
Yeah,
the original light gun, which was a lot of fun when I was a kid. But like, you just kind of played Duck Hunt, and then that fucking dog showed up, and then you played Duck Hunt again, and then you were like, you know what? I'm gonna play something else.
It's even more fun nowadays if you try to play it with an NES with a new television, because it doesn't do anything. It just becomes Duck Watch.
Yep, doesn't work. Technology has overcome it.
The worst Parawatch article.
Dog Watch. Dog Watch.
Alright, so SCP-2272, which is Ellis Canastoda? I don't know how to say this word.
That's amazing. Is that the title?
Yeah,
Ellis Canastoda.
Ellis Canastoda, P. Pensacola Blue Wahoos by Kate McDriss, who is one of my favorites. I'm just going to read like the opening lines, and then we can talk about the article in a more meta way. But SCP-2272 is a phenomenon currently affecting the AA minor league baseball team known as the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. The phenomenon manifests as a player who does not exist. Blue Wahoo's starting pitcher Ellis Canastoda, appearing in game records, statistical compilations, and in memories of Blue Wahoo's games since 2000 and blank. All attendees of Blue Wahoo's games in which Canastoda is purported to play experience an apparent collective visual hallucination of Ellis Canastoda pitching, batting, and fielding, and a baseball game proceeding as normal. And my favorite part is later on they talk about even the recordings are hallucinating. Like he's even showing up on when they've recorded it.
Yep.
It's a shared hallucination of a baseball player that everyone and everything is actually experiencing. And this fictional person, apparently, in his stats, went to Oneiroi High School in Utica, WO, which isn't a place.
Yeah, one wonders if that's somehow West Oneiroi, if they've just flipped it around.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe somewhere in the article it says, it's just an invalid country code, but
Yes.
I have to think that that's Oneiroi West.
Yeah. Yeah, almost certainly.
So it's a dream baseball player who is playing baseball in the real world.
My favorite part is that it doesn't exist, but everyone who watches it thinks he does.
They have to go through the trouble of double-blind satellite surveillance to 100% confirm that this player isn't physically on the field. They check heat signatures to account for where people are, and there's an absence of information where Ellis is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the people who are watching, I think the imagery where they take a picture of the sporting event, they confirm that the people who think they're watching the baseball player, their eyes aren't even open. We're dreaming the baseball player in the middle of the real baseball game.
And it ends with initial containment procedures for SCP-2272 orchestrated the appointment of Field Agent Robert Potsdam as General Manager of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, with the intent to trade Ellis Canastota to a Foundation-controlled Summer League baseball team. Because there's a Foundation-controlled summer baseball. Of course there is.
Fucking baseball.
To contain the SCP's effects. The evening after his appointment as general manager, Agent Potsdam was found comatose in his bed after suffering apparent blunt force trauma to the head. All Foundation staffers within approximately 40 kilometers radius of Agent Potsdam's location reported experiencing the same dream that evening. Foundation staffers reported sitting in the stands of a baseball stadium and viewing Ellis Canastota throwing a fastball at the head of the man who was bound. So ridiculous.
Beautiful. His mom betrayed him, obviously.
That's right. And then,
This is just simple, pure Oneiroi in action.
but in the real world.
Because it's, an invasion of a real thing by a very straightforward concept. It's still, even beyond all that, has a lot of layers because a critical, I guess, subgenre of absurdism and surrealism is people trying to make sense of it and then that producing further absurdity and surreality. And this article is, it's exactly that. There's the slight dip into the trope of the Foundation tries but just makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
But only a little bit, because in the department we just get one guy knocked out with a fastball and then we're like, okay, this is a baseball game, what the fuck are we trying to destroy the world over for this? You stay there, buddy.
It's like there's literally no threat to normalcy. Everyone
wants to exist on a
right.
minor league baseball team. Just let him.
And the implication is think about what kind of effect something with this sort of ability could have, and all they're choosing to do is play out their fantasy of being a minor league baseball pitcher.
Yep.
I think we're all right.
Yep.
Just let it happen.
And then to
I
close
like that
out,
it decided to
sorry.
attack.
Say
Sorry,
it again.
I just like that it decided to attack them. I couldn't really see a reason as to why it would, because they were just letting it, but it chose to, and I was like, yeah.
Because he doesn't want to be traded. Apparently he's a big fan.
Hey, alright.
I wouldn't want to leave Pensacola either.
He wants to be a Blue Wahoo. Who wouldn't?
I would too.
I mean, I don't want to live in Florida, but you guys have fun.
I mean, he doesn't actually live in...
Well, that's true.
He just plays baseball
He
there.
just plays baseball there.
He pretend plays baseball there.
Like most
And then,
of them, probably.
to close out, we're going to talk about one by Famine Pulse, who I swear I've talked to Famine Pulse I don't know how many times, and he's brought up Oneiroi multiple times, and at first I was not going to have one on this list, and that is a crime. So we've got this one, which is Jupania? I'm guessing? Hashtag Jupania?
I always called it Ziopania.
Ziopania? Okay.
Japania?
Which is a collective consciousness originating from one Ki Chao, excuse me, and currently based in one Jason Graham. Jason Graham is the capital. Japan is the largest city. Which is just the opening lines, and it's just like, and in my commentary, it's just immediately what the fuck. And like
that's the premise. Deal with it.
Yeah, and like the previous one, which was the hotheads, my head is on fire, and I'm okay with that. This one starts off kind of like with a Wikipedia overview, and then breaks down into different like social media posts. And I just kind of wanted to read the Wikipedia part because it sets up everything that happens later. But it itself is just quintessential famine pulse nonsense. But instead of being horrifying, this time it's kind of funny. Not kind of funny, it's funny. But my point is that oftentimes he goes for like unsettling, and this is just hilarious. Japan, which, as you remember, is the largest city, and all other states of Japania are derivative states of Jason Graham. Each in essence identical to the capital, Jason Graham. Roughly 60 derivative Japanian states are known to exist across 60 different hosts. Japanian states are 1,212 square miles in area and adhere to a continuum, looping into themselves. The geography of Japanian state consists of a floating, temperate archipelago. Day and night cycles are extremely erratic and depend on government discretion. There is no light source in Japania, but a Terran approximation of a starlit sky that increases in brightness depending on time of day. This archipelago floats and rests over and under 35 meters of void space. 35 meters.
I love the combination of miles square and 35 meters.
Yes. Japania is a concrete, low fantasy, and individuals' powers within Japania are semi-mundane. The modifying of one's physical appearance, object creation, and mobility are inhibited. Corporeal entities require government authorization to wake, and are often treated as indentured servants or second-class citizens.
Require government authorization to wake.
And the weather, so everything is like part of this dictatorship. Japania maintains low literacy, life expectancy, education levels, and is one of the least visited nations. The origin state of Kishao is grounded in a mentally unstable host, and as such causes new Japanian hosts to experience similar problems. Nightmares and terrors frequently plague Japania, and in some extreme cases, Japanian states have caused the death of their hosts due to infighting and violence occurring during parasomnic events. Difficulties in the capital are irritated even further due to the fact that the nation's host is aware of its presence and frequently attempts to conquer the region during lucid dreams. Emperor Kishao, while corporeal, was suffering from brain cancer, and during the end of her life was researching the Oneiroi joining technique. Although denied by Kishao, the act of inhabiting Jason Graham is considered an act of desperation. Not much else is known about Kishao, as shortly after initial contact with Oneiroi West, access to Japania was restricted. Oneiroi West beings attempting to access Japania are met with lethal force. While capital punishment is illegal in Japania, corporeal criminals and invalids are often deported without properly separating from their hosts, causing their hosts' subconscious to emulate Japanian states and thus propagating their spread. Just like dream slavery.
It only gets worse.
Yeah, and it only gets worse, exactly. Because the next bit is like, they call it an excerpt from 1,000 Years in Japania, which is sort of like a tourist like discussion of like experiencing it, like a travelogue almost. And I'm only going to read part of it because it's just quotes from the emperor. And I found corporeals wandering around the marble terraces of the southern archipelago, relayed to me by one of my subjects. They were doing a bit of sightseeing. My kingdom, Jason, is very handsome, you see, and I'm not warm to this tourism, nor do I allow it, so I went to them. The many rows of Keishao's teeth began to rotate in spirals, from her lips to deep within her throat, as she describes their punishment to me. It's only a dream. I cannot be bothered with this. What real crime am I committing on corporeals? People wake up and they live their lives. So what if they're part of my network? People do not want their subconscious, their shadows. People do not want to accept who they truly are. But I know what you're going to ask me. What about beings without bodies to return to? Am I not killing? Surely, am I ending their lives? Of course.
Just so you know, 1,000 years in Zirconia just translates to like 6 months.
Oh, right, the time differential, yeah.
Yes.
And then, like you said, it gets worse, because there's like a news article about a Oneiroi West dignitary being arrested for tourism acts.
Acts of tourism.
How dare you?
And by the end, the Emperor's just murdering people by the thousands, like 5,000 a day. And then there's like a giant standoff between Oneiroi West and the forces of Jupadia. And it's like, what if... Because when you're first talking about this stuff, about the Oneiroi Collective, it has, like, the flavor of, like, a political entity, and then this just takes it to, like, the next logical stream. Well, if there's one, then there's gotta be more than that, and some of them have to be fucking nuts, right?
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Can't let the tourists win.
No. Tourism acts is one of the greatest crimes.
Don't even negotiate with tourists.
Are you wearing socks with sandals right now? And a nice patterned shirt. Get out of here.
Patterned shirt?
I'm forgetting the word. Hawaiian shirt?
Oh. I was like, lots of shirts have patterns.
Leave me alone!
We know the names of states that exist within Jason Graham, but not within the real world.
I'm just cultured, that's all.
Yeah, they're all Jason Graham.
Yeah, I just love that one line. My kingdom, Jason, is very handsome.
Oh, yes.
They have to keep mentioning my kingdom is Jason. The kingdom is Jason Graham.
As a former government employee, the largely erratic and depends on government discretion hit me right in the soul in a good way. It's true. I mean, that's redundant.
Right.
Yeah.
Largely erratic and depends on government discretion. It's a redundant statement.
Exactly. That's already
Still
erratic.
funny to read.
All those fucking tropes about working with the government are 100% true. I don't work with the government, but I have to constantly work with members of government, and it is exhausting. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's get some emails and then get the fuck out of here. Who wants to read this first one from Moxie?
The Chicago Spirit was
Aiko.
one of those GOIs that I respected its place on the wiki, but never really
you have to start again because we heard Grigori talking over you.
God, Grigori, you ruin everything!
I try.
I hate you. The Chicago Spirit was one of those GOIs that I respected its place on the wiki, but never really had that much interest in. Gangster stuff just never really appealed to me. Jesus. I always had a soft spot for the Spirit's GOI format and how straightforward it is. However, my question for the 4 is this: what is the one line in anything you have ever written which you are most proud of? This is by Moxie, yeah.
Aiko.
Jeez, okay.
Hey, Geico.
Did it matter what wiki came off of? I chose one from the Wanderer's Library.
Yeah, no, of course not. Anything you wrote.
There's this like Minecraft ending story that I heard, and I wanted to write something like it because that apparently the block game gave me so much inspiration. And so it was, with no time to prepare herself, she felt an empty sentence stuck in her throat. And this is just before the character decides that she doesn't want words anymore. Which it sounds really out of place.
No, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, it was impactful for me. Go on.
All right.
And there's silence.
Jeez, okay. No one liked that one.
It was good. We said it was good. Did you not hear us say it was good? Are you just immune to compliments now?
Who are you?
I don't know.
I wish I
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, Harry.
Who's
You
next?
got one?
Yeah. The thing that I picked kind of irritates me because I was looking through all my stuff when I saw this email, and I thought, what do I think is the best line? And it's got to be some ending line because I always end on my best lines. And I realized that I think the one I like the most comes from a rewrite of my first article that is hidden, and you have to find it through links from other articles. So I've apparently hidden my favorite line that I ever wrote from people seeing it. And it says, what separates us from the thing on the other side of the mirror? 3 dimensions and room to grow.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
It's real.
And no one ever sees it. No one ever sees it. It's hiding.
By hiding it, you've insulated yourself from expectation.
That's right.
It's more special that way.
That's right. I'm keeping it to myself. It's not for you.
All right. Meats?
My favorite line isn't one I came up with, but it's like all good authors, I steal, and then I put it in my thing. It's in my 001 proposal. It's a line, a church is a hospital for sinners.
Oh, that's good.
Ooh, that's good. That is good.
It's very nice.
You guys all had these really like poetic ones, and I'm gonna read something utterly ridiculous.
Boop, boop, fart noises.
That's right. We now return you to a regularly scheduled program of Dolly's Dixie Corner, but from all of us at VKTM 66.3, I'd like to wish the corpse of JFK a merry fuck you. Fuck you too, Mike. Fuck you too.
Yep.
It's clever.
It's my favorite thing ever. It's one, like, there's a few lines that I've written that when I read them again, I laugh. And every time I read that, I go, that's ridiculous. What the fuck? Anyway. Again, this is the shit that I didn't think I could even write, so maybe that's why I'm still enamored with my own comedy writing.
Grigori discovering humor definitely makes him
happy. That's a big one. Took a while, too.
It did. It took about a year.
He found out how to write humor, and if you give him a little while, he might eventually develop a sense of humor with human interactions.
What the fuck?
For now, it's self-isolated.
All I do is laugh. Anyway.
I've hardly gotten any insults in here. I had to stick one right in the end.
All right. I'll read this one from Grigori. I love most of the articles in the wiki, which can be described as very fucking weird. So, as a result, I also adore reading most Oneiroi and newest stuff in general, articles. So I hope your next episode showcases some good ones, which I have missed. Hopefully we did. Here be questions. Which article... I like that. Which article on the wiki has your favorite title?
Are we going in the same order, or are we going to switch it up every time?
Let's do the same order.
Whenever you're ready.
Alright, my favorite is Everything Worth Doing is So Fucking Hard by Dark Stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Lovely title.
Who was next? Was it me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do a SCP annotail because that's who I am. In the SCP, I think it's The Dragon of Mittenwald by John Related.
It's so good.
It's just evocative. And
it's amazing.
It's a great article, but The Dragon of Mittenwald just really rolls off the tongue. And for Tales, it's Pictures of Plastic People by Ip, which is also very evocative, and it's hard to even say what it's evocative of.
Yeah. Meats?
This one's a pretty long one. 4960. Why the Foundation funded a hentai to awaken a Sumerian love goddess, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Kadesh Nanaya.
That's Clef, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very funny. And it's Clef kind of poking fun at his like earlier horny stuff. It's very funny.
Right.
I really like that article.
It's fantastic. It is, I think, the longest name on the wiki, which if it isn't, it's got to be, damn close. But, for that alone isn't why I like it. It's just, it blends a lot of things, and we always like to go absurd.
Always.
Speaking of, I'm going to cheat by picking one that I picked out for one of Harry's articles, because it still makes me laugh, which is the name snake.
Ah, yes.
It's my favorite thing ever.
Oh, wait, you picked it out. Excuse me.
I told you you had to do it, and you said, okay, I'll do it.
The next time he tells the story, it'll be this article title that I gave to Harry.
That's not what I said. You were like, oh, we could call it this, or I could call it this. And no, I'm not going to call it that. I'm like, no, you fucking have to call it that.
I was like, it's called the namesake because it's the creature that's a namesake of a class, an object class, and I went, it's also a snake. I could call it the name snake, and he's, you have to call it the. Like, I kind of wanted you to say that.
Yeah, of course, but it's just so fucking evocative and funny and memorable all at the same time. Like, and it's thematically appropriate to the different aspects of that story. I just fucking love it so much.
Well, I like Isolation Reverie by Grigori Karpin. That's a fantastic title.
It's very, it's a very, like, weighty title for a story about bloody mushrooms.
What
did you do while the site was down?
For me, a lot of stuff happened, but the main one was there was a tornado and it was my birthday. So
Her birthday was a tornado.
It was all the Wiki's fault. So, ManyMeats, we're gonna have a problem after this. You and me behind the shack. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
What shack?
The one in our mental space here.
Just the way you said that, like behind the shack. You know the one I'm talking about.
The shack.
This is
The
literally
shack
the
that you
Oneiroi
made people
episode.
blind.
Who got you the tornado?
The woodshed.
Who got you the
yeah.
tornado?
Who got you the tornado?
You did, Harry.
Oh wow!
6 years ago.
Shit. Oh.
It only
6
just arrived.
years ago.
Yeah. We've been friends a while. Enemies, rather.
Akko, I'd really like to thank you for staying up so late past your bedtime. You've done a great job.
It's okay. I didn't take my sleeping meds. Now let's go on.
Yes.
Did you
Right,
go
I have
through?
to answer.
Yeah, go.
Continue to write my tale series that is now probably going to be a 150,000 word book. Moving on.
He's not joking.
I'm not joking. It's already over 100,000.
Listen, it started with whatever I had to say. Now it's with yours. Everyone thinks we're joking right now, isn't it?
None of this is real.
We
It's
keep
just a
getting
tornado.
updates.
I'm writing a novel. Go on, Meats. How are you gonna kick this one out of the park?
Oh, I don't think I did that. I've been running a D&D game of 3.5th edition for a very long time, and we reached the phase of the game where the only people who are still alive that have names are epic characters with a lot of deeds under their belt. So I spent a lot of time writing out stuff that my players have been asking about and filling in stuff for that, for them to do and possibly end the universe over.
Okay, yeah, that was kind of crazy.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, awesome.
I wrote a victim article, and I played a lot of Elden Ring. That's about it. I finally caught up on Elden Ring. I'm almost done, finally.
Good job.
What do you mean by caught up?
Well, so a few weeks ago, like 5 weeks ago, I had to find a new place to live, and that was a stressful couple of weeks. And then I found a place, which was a good place, but then I had to, because of the way it was set up, like it was a first come first serve sort of thing, so I had to like technically move in much earlier than I planned, and so I started just literally moving over the space of like 5 or 6 days. So that whole week was so like I didn't work on anything for the wiki. I didn't play a video game. I didn't barely watch TV for like weeks and weeks.
Ooh.
Yeah, it sucked, but I'm finally settled in, and I mean, I would have rather have published the victim article because I was sitting there just waiting for it. But it was nice to finally. I'm almost done with Elden Ring. Finally,
Your article underwent radioactive decay while you weren't looking at it.
That's right. And then Harry mentioned forever ago how one of his articles, The Wait, I believe, was inspired by a dream. So now I wonder, have there been other cases where your articles being inspired by dreams? And it's not just for Harry.
Which is good, because I don't think I have another one.
Oh, awesome. None that I've actively gotten on the site, but there is one that was about VKTM that I'm writing a series for.
Mm-hmm.
Where I told Grigori about this dream, but there were like 2 characters from VKTM like carrying a couch, and they were moving into like a theme park, but they were really upset because it was a weekend. like really, they were like, I can't believe they was working on a fucking weekend.
And then you drew it.
And then I did in fact draw it, and then I decided that I love the characters so much that I wanted to kind of have them as background characters. So now they're gonna be my comedy characters in the background, like kind of like a sitcom script, I suppose. I'm gonna have my main characters doing their thing, and then it's gonna cut to them doing something stupid on the sidelines, like unable to get a couch up the stairs or something. I don't know. They'll figure it out.
Now ask how many times I've warned Aiko that she can't do any like serious lore or explain anything about victim in these tales.
Guy. Do not write for VKTM. I've been dragged to hell and back.
Okay, it's been 3 times. Anyway.
That's why you just post it and then block it.
Yeah, what are you gonna do about it, huh? Huh, punk?
Nothing.
That's right. Don't say like that. You've been so adamant about it for so long. I felt like it was your life's journey.
I mean, it is the thing I created, so,
You can hit him with the old, do you feel in charge?
Wow, that was good.
That was really good.
That was really good.
I've been working on that for a long time.
It's really good.
Thank
Now read Gizma's, but like Bane.
No. I didn't, I have a dream article.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, what the hell?
Sorry.
My 5K contest entry, December to Remember, was about a dream I had where I opened up a library book and it said due December 32nd. And that became an article where December that just doesn't end. You flip the calendar over and it says December 32nd and it just keeps going.
This is so sad.
Yeah. Well, it's a bummer of an article.
It is.
If you're into that sort of thing. So that checks out. Right, next email.
Oh yeah, I don't really have a good answer. I don't think I have one that it was based on a dream. I woke up in the middle of the night and started writing down ideas I had, but it wasn't.
No.
I don't think it was really. It could have been connected to the dream, but I don't really remember my dreams most of the time, honestly.
That's fair.
All right. Well, who wants to read Gizma's?
I'm on it.
All right.
Unfortunately, Oneiroi is one of those GOIs I don't know a lot about, so I'll have to learn from this episode. I find the concept cool, just haven't had the time to really delve into it. I still have some of their articles. I think my favorite would be the one about the police officers who arrest people for crimes committed during their dreams. It was funny to get a glimpse into dream world court logic. Speaking of dreams, though, that wiki shutdown was a real nightmare. Glad that's over. Looking forward to the episode, as always. Thanks, Guzma.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Thanks to Gizma and Guai for almost always sending in emails. It's fucking great.
We love it.
It's fantastic.
Harry, you want to read this last one?
Yeah, just a second. I've tabbed away from Outlook, so you can all
Check out his
listen.
reading glasses.
You can all listen as I open my email again.
Stay a while and listen.
Yeah, it turned into Deckard Cain, didn't it?
Yeah, that's okay.
Do you need me to copy and paste this for you?
Shut up, young person. All right, Randy.
Yes.
This is from Randy. Hi. Hope all of you are doing well after such a traumatic experience of losing the sight for 4 days, as I recall. That might have been a lot. For some of us, it was.
It was. It genuinely was.
So, as always, the question. What is the funniest thing you have read on the wiki? And coincidentally, it was that the wiki was down. That was so funny.
Exactly. Mine's when day breaks.
That's funny to you?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It's the only thing that doesn't freak me out. We were talking about dreams just a second ago.
Yeah.
But I had an entire dream where Sumerian released a 5-part series about it. and then the world ended. And I was the only one alive. I got really upset about it. And then my friends were like, okay, we got exposure therapy. You're going to talk to Sumerian so you don't get upset about it. And I did. And then since then, every time I think about that conversation, I can't say anything because it was just horrid.
What in the fuck does this have to do with when day breaks?
Every time I think about that conversation, I just laugh. So every time I hear about the article, I'm laughing. It's horrible.
Beautiful.
That's fair.
Thank you. The 5-part series will never be released. I've made sure of that.
Can't possibly top that answer.
You're welcome.
I'm sure you could try.
Go on.
Can my answer be 05?
Yeah, if it's
05 command.
If it's the Consuelo
Oh.
logs.
Damn, that would have been a great answer. Consuelo is legitimately the funniest.
100%.
Like, not a joke.
Consuelo's
Not a
great.
joke. Is the funniest.
Mhm.
Consuelo's disc log is the funniest thing.
Oh my god, I've read it so many times. It should be an article on the wiki at this rate.
Kind of is.
Disciplinary
I mean-
Consuelo in 05command.com. That is
It's
the
like
funniest article we have.
It's like a secret article, you know? You have
Yeah,
to
well,
find
there's
it.
there's no vote module, so you can't get that sucker deleted.
It is so fucking amazing.
It's a riot.
It's so. I'm sure it
Definitely
was
worth the price of admission.
I'm sure it was really frustrating to deal with, but in hindsight,
I wouldn't
fucking
know,
hilarious.
Thankfully.
I don't think if I was on staff, I would have been able to do my job because I just would have been like, but he's so funny.
That would have been my whole contribution.
No, we're not banning this person. Why? He's hilarious.
Why don't we ban the people who aren't funny?
I could get behind that.
So whose turn is it? Did we just give up on? Because
I don't know. Harry, you
answer and no.
Well, the two hosts haven't responded.
No, I haven't answered. I'm just gonna cheat and do two because I always cheat and do two because that's how I am in relationships. And I'm gonna pick one by Jay Dune and one by Plague PJP because they both write my favorite funny shit. So I'm just gonna name them and you can go read them because they're amazing. SCP-5787, Bad Things Happen in Philadelphia, which is actually Plague and Dune together, which is about a sentient Philly cheesesteak. Actually, I'll do three. Dr. Rockefeller, Always with You, which is one of my favorite articles of all time by Jay Dune, which is SCP-5648, and it is terrifying, and it is amazingly funny. And one of my all-time favorite articles that I can't find the number of. Where the hell is it? Why didn't I ever
It's
have...
my all-time favorite. It's my all-time
favorite. What the fuck was it called? What was it about? Who was in it? SCP-6597, Whale, I'm Boned by Plague.
Oh my god, that was so good.
And the description he has provided for us on his author page is a quote from the article from Scordo, the god of Scrimshaw, saying, "I would like people to start killing more elephants and whales."
So true, King. So true.
Listen, if we have done anything to inspire people to read any articles, please God, people, go read Plague's articles.
Yes!
His stuff is fucking hilarious. I would also choose a Plague article, but it was super controversial, so I don't want to add to the drama.
Oh, no.
We know which one.
You just did by doing that, but okay.
Whatever.
Oh,
but I'm going to pick safe choices, which are things that we've covered on the show, honestly. I love that SPC orientation that I read. I still listen to that recording, and like that's why I clipped it and put it on fucking Twitter because it's just so fucking funny. Like, because that's what we fucking do in the SPC. Like, it's just so funny. I can't take it. And
I can't get enough SPC.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I always thought it was pretty funny, but then doing the episode made me realize I just fucking love it, all of it. So, speaking of ManyMeats, no, I'm not going to call you out on this show. So the other one would be the Many Wise Words of Dick Chappell.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
pretty good.
Which we also read entirely on the show last episode. It's just so fucking hilarious.
Cat bit me, now it lives in the river.
It's so good. That's just why don't the homeless just buy homes? A couple of lines later, why don't the orphans just buy new parents?
My parents.
It's so fucking good. Oh man. Anyway,
disconnected and senile, the perfect combination.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
All right. Well,
just like you guys.
That's right. It's just like us.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Awesome.
So,
who's the one sundowning here out of the four of us, though?
It would be Aiko.
Hey, that wasn't very nice of you.
That's me.
But I got the name right. Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't care, Grigori.
Huh?
Shut up.
Finger guns. Anyway, so...
Finger guns.
Not a video podcast, so you can't...
Never mind, two of you might be sundowning.
All right. So the email address is at simplycreativepeople@gmail.com. So please send us your emails. We obviously especially like the ones with questions because it's just a lot of fun. It's really nice when you send nice things, but also the questions are really fun to read.
Yeah, because after we hear your words, it's nice to be able to go back to saying our words and hearing our own voices.
That's right.
Content, yes.
Because we made a podcast so that we couldn't speak. Oh wait, we like to talk. The Twitters are at SIMCREAT for the show, and then at Grigori Karpin.
At Harry Blank, SCP. Y'all got Twitter? Y'all younger.
Oh yeah, so at Luxaiko. If you can figure out how to spell that.
I'm going to include it in the description.
And I'm at many_meats.
The dreaded underscore.
That pesky underscore. Which is dumb because my author name is all one, but...
I hate when people do that. Should
I
be
know
illegal.
what would drive a man to choose.
I just thought you were gonna stop there. What would drive a man?
That's a fair question. They're made out of meat.
We'll answer that next episode, but for now,
We definitely will not be giving any answers.
No answers. Fuck that. Well, thank you for both for joining us. This is really fun, especially since it's the
Yes.
first time we had two, and you both were wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, you were.
Thank you for having me / us. I'm gonna
Yeah.
speak on her behalf.
Oh, I'm
We're
only
collective.
thanking. I'm
No,
only
no.
thanking Meats. I'm not thanking
Oh.
Aiko at
Oh,
all.
we are a
That's ridiculous.
collective. You can't. That's a pun right there. You can't leave us apart.
That wasn't a pun. That just happened to be the same word.
No.
She's young. They don't know how words work anymore.
I like that this just turned into making fun of Aiko when she spends the rest of the time making fun of us.
I'm gonna have nightmares tonight, and it's all gonna be your fault.
Turnabout's fair play.
Hey, look, nightmares, because.
That's content.
Oh.
Don't make fun of me like that.
All right,
End your
that's.
stupid podcast.
Good night, folks.
Dream a little dream for us.
Sweet dreams.